Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the April 1st, 2026 regular City Council meeting. If you please stand for the invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this great community. I ask for your blessing on this community every day and in every way, and especially during this Holy Week that we are in. I say a special prayer for our men and women in service overseas. There's a lot going on in the world, and they are in harm's way, and just keep them safe and bring them home. And please keep the astronauts on Artemis 2 safe on their journey around the moon. I ask these things in your name, Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Burnham, roll call vote or roll call check-in? A full vote tonight. Roll call something.
Councilor Patton?
Here.
Councilor Maldonado?
Here.
Council President Hensley?
Here.
Mayor Hodson?
I am here.
Councilor Davis?
Here.
Councilor Stearns?
Here.
And Councilor Waterman?
Here.
Hi, Paul. Hey, Paul. Great. Like I said, we got a full vote. This is great. We don't have any staff introductions, so item 4 this evening is citizen input and public comment. It's an opportunity for citizens to address the council on non-agenda items. If you are wanting to address the council, back on the podium there behind Pete Wood, our HR director, is these white cards that you can fill out. Bring them over to our city recorder and she'll make sure that I get it. Just a reminder, if you can't make the city council meeting, you can always Zoom in. Just need to let the city recorder know the day of the city council meeting by 4:30. Yes, 4:30 on the day of our city council meetings. Just want to remind those that are speaking that you have 3 minutes to address the council. If we can address it tonight, we will. If not, city staff and I will figure out next steps regarding the question or the inquiry. I have one card this evening, and that's Jordan, is it Ward? Yep. Welcome, sir. If you want to come up to the table here and introduce yourself, and you're addressing us on STC fees.
Correct.
Thank you. Good evening.
All right, good evening. My name is Jordan Ward. I live here in Canby, and I'm a small-time real estate developer. I recently purchased an old church on Manzanita Street here in Canby and converted it to 23 studio and 1-bedroom apartments. Live about 5 or 6 blocks north of there, and got 3 little kids, and they go to public school here in Canby. The biggest line item on that project was, for me, the SDC fees. And I understand that the system development charges are up for discussion for a substantial increase. I'm not sure how much, but I've heard that they could nearly double. So I just wanted to give you a kind of perspective from my point of view. I can't speak on the costs that go into running a city. I have no idea what they need to be from to keep the city afloat, but I can tell you that they directly affect the feasibility of projects like mine. I do have 2 small apartment complex, well, they're 2 separate 12-unit projects here in Canby, and the STCs that will be charged for them are sort of unknown. I guess my biggest concern is that the time at which the STCs are assessed is at the very last step of the project after you've been through Canby planning and Clackamas County building, which it's like a 6-month process by the time you're all said and done. But you don't know what you're going to be paying for your largest line item until the last day when your permit is issued. That's how Canby does it. I had a similar issue on my first project that I won't get into with when Canby Utility raised their fees during my approval process, and it turned into a little bit of a fiasco. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, thankful for the opportunity to have my SDCs on my first project finance. That was pretty helpful. I understand that that process has changed quite a bit, where you have to use a different property as collateral, and I think the rates are higher than you would get at a bank. So I don't think I will be doing that on this project. And I guess my time's up. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Yeah, so Jordan, before you leave, yes, we are in the midst of conversation on the STC charges and how that is going to look, fees, I guess, are going to look like going forward. Don or Randy, the public hearing for that is coming up when?
July.
Okay, so our second meeting in July.
Actually, it's probably on my look ahead here. 1 second. July 1st.
The first. So our first meeting in July will be the public hearing on that piece. Between now and then, I don't know if you've met Don Hardy, our planning director, so you know who he is. He and his team can probably get you some more information on what that is going to look like. Plus it'll be, put out a week in advance. So definitely want to encourage you to come and hear the public hearing on that, and please comment that evening as well.
Sure, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming. It's the only card I have. Maya, is there anyone online this evening?
No, there is not.
Okay. I will move on to item 5. And this evening we have a proclamation. It's National Library Week's coming up. Already? Again, Melissa? National Library Week 2026, whereas libraries spark creativity, fuel imagination, and inspire lifelong learning, offering a space where individuals of all ages can find joy through exploration and discovery. Whereas libraries serve as vibrant community hubs, connecting people with knowledge, technology, and resources, while fostering civic engagement, critical thinking, and cultural enrichment. Whereas libraries provide free and equitable access to books, digital tools, and innovative programming, ensuring that all individuals, regardless of background, have the support they need to learn, connect, and thrive. Whereas libraries partner with schools, businesses, and organizations to maximize resources, increase efficiency, say that 3 times fast, increase efficiency, and expand access to essential services, strengthening the entire community. Whereas libraries empower job seekers, entrepreneurs, and lifelong learners by providing access to resources, training, and opportunities that support career growth and economic success. Whereas libraries nurture young minds through story times, STEAM programs, and literacy initiatives, fostering curiosity and a love of learning that lasts a lifetime. Whereas libraries protect the right to read, think, and explore, standing as champions of intellectual freedom and free expression. Dedicated librarians and library workers provide welcoming spaces and inspire discovery, collaboration, and creativity for all. And whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers across the country are joining together to celebrate National Library Week under the theme, Find Your Joy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Hodson, proclaim April 19th through the 25th, 2026 as National Library Week. During this week, I encourage all residents to visit their library, explore its resources, and celebrate all the ways that the library helps our community find joy. And Marissa, you were here to collect this tonight?
Yeah.
Do you want to take a moment and talk about any events that week? Or?
I will say really quickly, if you already have a library card, please use it, whatever your library is. If If you don't, get a library card. And I obviously have to take this time to talk about our Career Center. It's grant funded. You get free printing, free supplies, all sorts of things. And then we do also have a seed library where you can check out without returning seeds and plant them in your garden. And obviously, springtime is a great time to do that. So use your library card.
Thanks, Marissa. All right. Item 5B this evening is a Canby School District presentation. We have the chair and superintendent here this evening. Hello.
Hello, ladies.
Well, thank you so much for having us. Just a delight to be here, and I want to just personally thank you, Mayor Hodson, along with our liaison. So thank you, Council President Hensley, as well, and for your collective interest and hearing from us this evening, and the kind invitation as well. So thank you for your time. My name is Jennifer Patterson. I'm the superintendent of the Canby School District, a very proud superintendent, I might say. And I have, I think, what's the best job in the world, because I've got 4,100 kids to love and care for. So that's a role that I take very seriously and approach with great stewardship and great care and responsiveness. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that in greater detail this evening. I love this picture because it draws you right in to what matters most. It brings the faces of children up close and really resonates deeply with this community around what matters. And it doesn't take long in Canby to hear about schools and children, because evidence of our collective care for them is everywhere. Just even in the declaration that you just read, Mayor Hodson, around libraries. So I love this picture. These are 91 kindergartners out and enjoying a little bit of sunshine. And it's true that schools are much more than buildings. They actually hold our future. Oh, there's my clicker. There we go. I do want to start with what's going well, because there will be a lot of heavy in our conversation later this evening around resource and budget constraints. So I want to shine a light on the things that we should feel collectively proud of in Canby, because you don't have to look very hard to find those things. And I want to start by highlighting the success of our graduating seniors, class of 2025. They experienced a record high graduation rate of 91% in Canby, which is phenomenal. And any student that is participating in our CTE programs graduated at a 98.9%. So we'll call that 99. So we know that our investment in vocational education here in Canby is paying off in really clear ways for students and children. Our literacy rates are slowly improving. We have a lot of work to yet do, so I want to be really clear about both things. We're proud of the progress, and we have bigger dreams ahead for lifting and continuing to improve levels of reading and writing at really high levels, K-12. But we're really proud. We heard from ODE this spring to say, what are you doing right in Canby? And I said, well, we're doing a lot of things right. We're training teachers in the science of reading. We're paying attention to professional development, and we're investing in high quality instructional materials for the first time in over a decade. So we're really proud of that. You don't have to go far to hear people talking about our state award-winning choir and band. They are incredible, and the state competition tells us so. So we are really proud. They're getting ready to go to state again this spring, and cheering for them loudly. We've got thriving athletics programs. Spring sports just kicked off, and we had our dance team win second in state over spring break, as well as basketball. Our boys basketball team did exceptional, and we could just go on and on about the strong evidence that supports that kids do really well in athletic opportunity here in Canby. We have excellent CTE programs. We offer 7 of them. For a district of our size, that's truly remarkable. They're thriving, and our outcomes support that claim. We do a phenomenal job of supporting bilingualism. I myself am bilingual, and this is really important. I know Mayor Hudson, your own child, has benefited from this program, so we have an incredible DLI program, and we have a very high number of students that earn a seal of biliteracy because of it. We have beautiful small neighborhood schools, which is such a gift. In communities like Beaverton, they're closing small neighborhood schools and building ginormous ones. In Canby, we have a value for knowing children by name, strength, and need, and they're known in our small schools, and that's a tremendous value here. And deep generational roots really tie us together and connect us and hold the storyline of continuation in our district. So those are, I could speak forever about what makes me proud to be the superintendent in Canby, Oregon, but certainly wanted to start with those highlights. I also want to talk about how proud I am of where we spend our money. In the business that we're in, which is teaching and learning, it takes a lot of big people to support little people. And so 80% of our budget goes to staffing. And a question I get a lot is, well, how do you spend that money? And this is the evidence to look at it. So you can see that the majority of our dollars go right to the schoolhouse, as well they should. So we have almost 60% of our funding goes to licensed teachers and staff, and just under 40% goes to classified staff. So these are folks that help out in the front office. These are instructional assistants that help with reading groups and recess duty and help in lots of big and small ways. Also school principals. We have 8 schoolhouses. You got to have a principal in every schoolhouse. Our district office is very skinny relative to many of our neighbors, and certainly any district that I've been a part of, 1.4% of our total staffing is at the district office, and that's an HR director, a student services director, myself. We also have, of course, a CFO, teaching and learning, and we take our work very seriously and believe it's our job to center students as well in our service and work to the district at whole. And then confidential supervisory, these are folks that work in payroll or HR. They're classified, it's a category of classified staffing, if you will, that earns a little bit more because of the nature of confidential work that they do. And you can see here that this is where the conversation gets very real. My job as a steward of resources is to think ahead into the future. I care a lot about that in Canby. I want to have a very long vision around what this community needs and how to steward schools that will thrive this year, next year, and long into the future. That's my job, to think about the future of kindergartners, the future of the kindergartners that we'll greet next year, as well as the seniors graduating as part of the class of 2026. And that's a really important ethos. I think that's something we should feel proud of in Canby. There's a long history of caring about and investing in the future. And part of that is having a real clear-eyed analysis of how we're doing fiscally. When I came, and I started July 15th of 2024, so I have a lot of humility about being new in this community and a lot to learn for sure. And at the same time, got right to work clarifying that we needed to do some right sizing and some budget reduction. And we did that work last year. We cut $7 million and reduced 74 staff. This year, we are still facing a $6.3 million funding gap. We're not alone in that. This is not just a Canby problem. Anyone who's reading the news, paying attention, in conversation with family members and others across the state, you know that Corvallis is closing 2 schools and cutting $4 million. Our neighbors in Oregon City are cutting $7 to $8 million next year. Eugene 4J announced that their deficit just ballooned to 40 to 50 million. Portland Public Schools, Ashland Schools. Corvallis is facing the closure of 2 schools, as well as Westland Wilsonville. So this is happening all among us. This is a statewide issue around a failure to fund public schools at adequate and sustainable levels. There are 8 drivers of our budget. I've gone and done at this point over 40 informational sessions talking about this anywhere that anyone will have me, including living rooms in Canby. So thank you to citizens that are inviting me into their homes to talk to neighbors around this topic. Also want to just say thank you to Mayor Hodson. Thank you to City Administrator Randy. Thank you as well to our council president, all who've come and spent individual time hearing this message and learning more. It really matters and it really counts. So this is a conversation that matters, and people are showing up to hear and understand and learn more about how are we facing a budget deficit second year in a row. And it's a good question, and an important one that I speak to directly. So I want to be clear that this is a very long conversation to unpack all of these 8 drivers. I don't have time to do that tonight, but I do want to highlight and be clear with you that the confluence of these 8 drivers result in our $6.3 million budget gap. I'll speak to them briefly, and then I have some charts and graphs to show you. But at the core of this issue is inadequate state funding. And that's evidenced by the fact that you can see all across the state schools struggling to meet their bottom line. Enrollment is also a challenge. I'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like in Canby, but declining enrollment is something that districts across the state are also struggling with and facing. It's also it's a national problem, so it extends far beyond Oregon. PERS cost, it's an extraordinary burden. You understand this well because it's a cost that you too contend with and deal with. And if you are a if you work as a fireman, if you work as a policeman, you also get PERS, and it's something that challenges not only K-12 but other public entities as well because of that. We have an obligation to have a reserve at 5%. Our reserve in Canby is below that threshold, so my job as a superintendent is restore the reserves to 5% and present the balanced budget to the board. Our special education costs are not adequately funded at the state level. We serve over 15% of students on individual education plans. The state reimburses us for 11%. It's also true that the $2 million that we spend on high-cost disability students every year, the state reimburses us at 20 cents for every dollar that we spend. Our operational costs and labor costs are going up. If you're a small business owner, you know this well. It costs a lot of money to do business in Oregon, and that's true for us as a school district as well. So operational costs, everything from our lighting to our water, is increasing. Even the cost of taking out the trash is going through the roof. So we are burdened by increased costs as well as labor. So cost of insurance, cost of employing people goes up. We are really lucky to have some phenomenal staff in Canby, Oregon, and they're absolutely deserving of the paychecks they earn, and employing them costs money, so that's just a reality. We also have unfunded mandates from the legislature, paid leave Oregon, unemployment, things of that nature that continue to land, and we're asked to do more, but not given adequate resources or reimbursement to do that with. I'll talk more about driver number 1. This is a graph that shows a real decreasing overall investment in public education in Oregon since 1999. So this graph shows the share of general state fund dollars and lottery revenues that have been dedicated to the state school funds since 1999. And you can see very clearly the trend line there. I think important to note that while the trend line of the share of resources going to K-12 is declining, the amount of state revenue is absolutely increasing. So I think it's important to really highlight that correlation. I thought you'd be interested in this data. This is recently new for us, and it goes really back kind of 4 decades to 1986. You can see the population of Canby comparative to enrollment. And this is really helpful for us in a couple of ways. One, I believe very strongly that to understand the future and prepare for it, you should study history. I think that's important. And it teaches us a few things. One, it helps us really kind of zoom out and look look at the fact that while we did decrease in enrollment in COVID, we're actually pretty flat between that 2,000, like 3,000 to just under 6,000 mark. So we are hovering between that over time. What's interesting is that our city population is growing quite a lot, and that's not reflected in children in our schools. And from what we know from the research we've done, it's connected to this issue. And this has to do with two things. The cost of housing in Canby is very high. We build beautiful houses here, and they cost a lot of money. So new families can't afford to purchase them and move in. And it's also true that our birth rate is declining significantly. We have one of the lowest birth rates in Oregon has one of the lowest birth rates in the country. So we love to see new babies out on the street. I'm always like, oh, are you going to be a future Canby grad? So anyway, apologies ahead of time if I approach anyone with young children in Cuts First and ask if you're coming to our schools, but we're excited to serve you. So it's true that for every 3 homes built in Canby, yields about 1 child on average. So we have a significant issue in that the city's growing, but the enrollment in our schools aren't. This has a bottom line implication for us financially, because for every 100 children that we lose, it comes with $1 million away from our bottom line. So it has a real fiscal footprint for us that counts. This is another way to look at our enrollment as it relates to how many littlest kinders we have. So we have about 100 fewer kindergartners enrolling than we're graduating. Again, this is not a Canby problem. If you talk to the Menville superintendent, she'd tell you the same thing. They have about half as many kids in kindergarten as they're graduating in this year's senior class. So just fewer kids being born, fewer young families in Canby, and we have fewer kindergartners. We are excited to greet them, though. We have kindergarten meet and greets. So if you want to get a good dose of 5-year-olds, come hang out with us in a couple of weeks, because they're going to be buzzing all around learning about what kindergarten has in store for them. PERS is a significant bugaboo for us. There's just no way around this. Last biennium, the legislature, or this current biennium rather, the legislature allocated $11.36 billion to schools. It's important for the public to recognize that of that $11.36 billion, $2.27 billion of it alone went to PERS. So 19% off the top goes right to PERS. And that's representative of a $670 million increase in PERS payments. So our PERS bill alone, I got hired on July 15th, 2024. It was a very, very joyful day for me. October of 24, we got a bill in the mail, $4 million was our PERS bill. So PERS is a significant challenge for us. And we're not alone in that challenge, but I want to be very forthright with the public about this as one of our significant drivers in our budget conundrum. So we got to work last year, because that's our job, is to acknowledge the problem and then do something about it, and we did this last year. I'm very proud of the work we did. We did very hard work and very personal work. In Canby School District, our employees are our neighbors. Our employees they are part of our community. They live in Canby. They contribute tremendously, not only economically, but to the relational fabric of who we are. And so reducing 74 of our staff was a very significant reduction, not only in the quality of services we can provide, but also how it affected our entire community. We also reduced operational budgets across the board. We increased class sizes as well, but particularly in 7-12 in order to keep K-3 as small as possible, because we knew from the community that was important. And we made a very difficult decision to keep some of art and some of music at the elementary level, but we did reduce 50% of art and music for our elementary students. We continue to be very committed to stewarding resources. We've been very fiscally responsible and accountable to the public dollar. We've taken a look at a long-term enrollment study to try to predict, again, a decade out, how many children will we enroll. Our best prediction, and it's always impossible to know, no one has a crystal ball, is we'll go from serving about 4,100 children to about 3,500 children over the next 10 years. We've ruled out a 4-day school week. It doesn't come with a lot of cost savings, and it turns out it's not good for children's learning. We've looked at a boundary study to look at the enrollment in each of our schools to see if one school is getting particularly small. All of our schools will collectively get a little smaller, but not one school that stands out is atrophying significantly like they're experiencing in West Lynn. We did the very hard work, as I named last year, of reducing 74 staff, including administrators. We've reduced our operational costs across the board. We've paused all non-essential spending. We've kept vacant positions unfilled, and we had 2 district office TOSs, and they've been reassigned to classroom positions. Teacher on special assignment. So kind of they lead PD and programming. We have right-sized staffing. I think this is really important, and I want you to see this and our public as well. So you can see that our staffing levels are lower in this year than they were in 2020, 2021. So you can see that significant decrease, and we feel like this was essential work in order to live within our means. And going any closer to that blue line is going to have significant detrimental impacts to our programming and our people and the quality of the schools that we have in Canby. So there's a lot at stake for 26-27, and I want to be very clear about that with the community. It's my job to prepare a balanced budget and to appropriately reduce staffing and programming to reflect the money that we will have incoming. But it means that we will be making very significant reductions. We were able to cut 74 staff and $7 million last year. We did it very carefully and very intentionally, and we did it with the voice of the community and staff at the center. We listened very carefully, we held input sessions, we did surveys, and we were able to prioritize what mattered most to this community. And what I want to say very plainly is that going forward, there is no way to preserve things that matter most. I wish that weren't the case. I wish that very much. But we will be making some hard decisions about likely reducing school days and reducing teacher pay along with those school days. Our union is currently voting on potential 4 furlough days this year, which is a reduction of school days, and 4 furlough days next year, which is a reduction of 4 learning days next year. That's also representative of a self-imposed pay cut for all of our employees at every level. We will be increasing class size. I'll talk about that in a little bit more, but this is significant. We will have blends in many of our elementary schools across the board, and we will also see record high class sizes in Canby. We will be reducing or eliminating 2 to 3 of our 7 career tech ed programs. This is ag, manufacturing, construction, culinary, things that would get kids up and at them in the morning and get them across the line as graduates and into future career. We have some of the best and most robust CTE offerings regionally, and these are in many ways the crown jewels of our district. We have extraordinary dual credit and AP offerings. I just had a parent 2 days ago tell me that their daughter graduated last year. She's now enrolled at Western University. She will get her 4-year degree in 3 years because the number of dual credits that she graduated with. And she said, that's a savings to my family of $30,000. Thank you very much, Canby School District. I'm here to say that we will be reducing dual credit offerings and advanced placement offerings at the high school next year because of this budget deficit. We will be reducing at least 50% of our reading specialists. We currently have a reading specialist in every elementary school. We will be significantly reducing counseling supports and nursing supports district-wide. We will be reducing music and arts programming. We will be reducing, if not eliminating, athletics and extracurricular at the middle school level. And we will be making reductions across the board to athletics and extracurriculars at the high school level. Equally important, without additional funding, the school board will be directing me as a superintendent to conduct a process by which the board will consider, with community input, school closures for school year 27 and 28. One of the things that I heard from our community and continue to hear everywhere I go, programs count and so does class size. And we know this, you know this yourself from your own experience or your children's experience. This matters a lot to me as a superintendent, so I want to be very clear about the impact. When I was hired, we were beautifully staffed. We were really right-sized. I remember saying that to the board chair. I said, boy, Board Chair Moggenheimer, I can tell you walking around, our schools are perfectly staffed. And you can see in our class size ratio why I said that. For every adult in a classroom, you had 22 kids on average. That's a beautiful, personalized learning experience for young children, as it should be. And in our secondary schools, we had an average class size of 27 to 30. You notice that this year, we made some reductions. We did our best to preserve class size, and you can see that reflected in this data. Our class sizes this year, on average, elementary K-6 are 1 to 26. Our K-3s are smaller, and that was intentional. And our secondaries are high this year. So class size, and if you have a student enrolled in middle or high school, you know that this is true. Our class sizes are high, they're big, classrooms are full. And we have on average of 30 to 33 ratio for every teacher. Next year, without additional funding, the average class size in our elementary schools will be 1 to 30, and the average class size in our high school will be 1 to 40. So we are at a real significant crossroads here. I want to be very clear that there's a compounding impact of 2 years in a row of budget shortfall. Last year, as I've stated, we cut $7 million and we right-sized. We did that responsibly. We did that in a responsive way to community voice and staff input. And we did it in a way that keeps us able to provide a stable, steady, and quality program to all students K-12 this year. Next year, that won't be possible because we're looking at an additional $6.3 million shortfall, and that collectively represents a 21% reduction in our budget in just 2 years. So there's a need to bridge the gap, and our board chair is here to talk about that with you this evening.
Thank you, Superintendent Patterson. And thank you for having us here today. I really just want to recognize our shared commitment to the Canby community and appreciate all the work that you do as a council for our town. So as you can see, this is a heavy and big topic and one that our board has been really immersed in for the last year and a half. And I really want to send appreciation to our board for really diving into this with a high level of intensity and intentionality and really looking at this and making big decisions, hard decisions along the way. And as you can see, we're at another crossroads where we have a really impactful decision to make based on our budgetary numbers that we have.
All right. Well, we want to so the board has really spent a significant amount of time evaluating this issue and determining what's next for us. And when we look at what is within the district's control, there's a lot of things, and those are the things that superintendent has talked through. But there's, at this point in the conversation, was really time for the board to look at what's within our control and how do we look at bridging this gap and what do we have that we can leverage in order to solve this problem. These are things that we have within the board's purview to review and evaluate, and that's what we really got started doing. And a testament, I would say, to our district and our superintendent and her team for bringing this to us early so that we had the ability to make some really hard decisions. I think as you look across the state, there's other schools who are in positions that don't have this information soon enough to make the choices that we were able to make. Once we learned and really looked at the options, we really started to look at the local levy option. And I want to be really clear, this is not an option that we wanted to pick up. It's not an option that we wanted to present to our community. It was absolutely the last resort in order to meet the needs and of our children and create a stable and quality educational environment. So we spent a significant amount of time reviewing what that might look like for Canby, and ultimately on February 23rd during our board meeting, our board unanimously voted to move a local levy option forward to the ballot, and that's what we are in the what we did and what is in the process of happening. So we will see a local levy option on our ballots on May 19th for our community to vote on. Other things within our purview that as we continue to look at this issue, we certainly are evaluating is the school closure and consolidation. We still need to look at this option. So we have work sessions planned over the course of the next few months to both look at process, and then ultimately June 1, if a levy does not pass, the board will need to direct the superintendent to evaluate and begin the process of schools consolidation. We have the purview of adopting the school calendar. As Superintendent Patterson mentioned, our union has moved forward with presenting the option of 4 furlough days or non-school days, which again is a 2% decrease in pay for our staff for this year and for next year to help mitigate and help with the cost savings. We will then adopt a calendar that is 4 days shorter, so the board will be doing that this year and next year. We also will be planning to consider our assets. It's important for us to look at every option, so we will be looking during our May 9th meeting at the assets the district does have and ensuring that there is no other options for utilizing assets for any type of cost-saving measures. The other thing that the board has the purview over is our ending fund balance. And I know as a council, you are familiar with ending fund balances. And certainly as a board, we have taken a hard look at that in order to mitigate the effects for students. So last year, we made a conscious decision to decrease our end fund balance to what our minimum currently is in order to minimize the $7 million cuts that we had to make. And we will again be evaluating that this year based on where we land at the end of the year with budget, and we have the option to do that. I want to just set the stage a little bit about the more we have looked at budget, and I think as Superintendent Patterson mentioned, I've also looked historically, like what is the pattern of funding and budgeting for schools and how did we get here and what do we need to be thinking about long term. And what I can say in visiting with school board members over the last 15 to 20 years is since Measure 5 passed, it's really changed the funding dynamic of school systems. And really for 30 years, we've been living in a system that is failing our funding as a funding mechanism. We have moved from local tax dollars staying local. So before Measure 5, our local tax dollars remained within Canby and our community schools. After Measure 5 passed, our local tax dollars for education go to the state, and from the state they're parceled out across the state in a way to equitably disperse those funds. But that creates a shortfall for our community. And we've seen that when I look back over time, it's a continual cyclical effect of funding where we are always just barely making it. And if any of those drivers that Superintendent Patterson mentioned earlier become compromised or become a significant effect on the budget, you'll see shortfalls and a pinch for our community in how we fund schools. You'll see that over time, and we have evidence of that when Ackerman closed. There's definitely points over time within our school history where we felt those pinches and we had to make really difficult decisions. And in order to mitigate that, what you've seen is in 2000, and schools had the ability to begin taking matters into their own hands and making some choices to mitigate those pinches that we've seen under Measure 5, primarily through a local option levy. What this chart shows is schools that have taken that option and added to their budget level. That is the yellow with a local option levy. And I think the important thing to note here is early on in this process, I think we all think about schools that have used that local levy option to add to their district funding to enhance and to create a more robust environment for education. But we also see, in those, particularly the last 5 years, school districts who are middle or small size like ours, who are using the local levy option to just stay whole, to just maintain funding. This is an extra, they're not adding to, it doesn't mean more CTE programs, it just means maintaining the teacher size and the classroom supports that they currently have. Examples of that, Neocani, Sisters, Hood River, districts that are similar in size to ours that are simply using the levy to continue the operations as is. And we looked at this as we were evaluating moving forward with the levy in Canby. Another artifact that we reviewed as we were looking at this option is what is the voter-approved tax rate for Canby in comparison to other districts. And when I look at this and when we evaluated this, what I am really proud to say is Canby for a very long time has done a lot with very little. We have powered through Measure 5 without putting a levy on the books for a very, very long time. And we have done really good work in that amount of time. Our schools look good. We have a robust CTE program. We have athletics. We have a middle school athletics program. We have counselors. We have a lot of really amazing assets to our districts, and many other districts do not have the same robust environment for their children. And so I'm very proud of the work. We all should be very proud of the work that we've done and the amount that we've supported our schools and our students with a very low tax rate within our community, whereas many others have added to. So the local option levy, a few things to note as we move forward, and as I said before, this was certainly not an option that the board picked up lightly, nor is it an option that we passed lightly. It simply is, it's very much a last resort to solve a state problem that we can either wait for the state to solve because of the changes in Measure 5, or we can, and our kids will pay the price, or locally, we can provide an option to maintain a high level of standards and education within our community. Local levy, our local Canby dollars stay local for Canby kids. They don't go to the state, they remain here, and we have the option and the responsibility to utilize those locally. As we just looked at the rate for Canby, we determined the rate of $1.50 per 1,000 assessed value. It's important to note this is very similar to the fire levies. This is not assessed value, or it's not real market value. It is the assessed value. It was very important to us when we looked at this that we are not looking at even closing the entire gap. We're just looking to mitigate the gap to the greatest extent possible so that we can continue to do operations and do what's best for children. The levy expires in 5 years. So in 5 years, the board will need to relook at, is this the best option for our district? Do we still need to have a levy on the books? And they will need to vote on it again. And if they vote to move it forward, it goes back out to the community. The community would then have to re-vote and pass that levy in 5 years. So it's not something that stays on the books continuously. Both the board and the community will need to reevaluate that in 5 years. When the board passed this out, we have a very specific memorandum that we put forward that specifies that levy funds would go directly to classroom supports and programs for students. So this isn't building a new track or adding to districts or adding to the district in any way. It's simply to maintain programs that we have and to stay centered for children in classrooms. We really believe that as you look at and as I've talked about school funding in Oregon, that the levy provides a level of stability to our funding mechanisms that we simply don't have at the moment. The drivers that Superintendent Patterson talked about, I can tell you in the last 3 years have become just significantly more volatile in their increases and decreasing, making it very difficult to plan and adequately fund schools. And the stability that the levy would allow us as a district to maintain neighborhood schools, maintain a high level of standards and learning for our students is going to be felt and is really necessary. So as I said, the local levy with option it brings forward to our budget a 5.9 million. As a reminder, our gap was 6.3. So we will still be mitigating and making some of the cuts that Superintendent Patterson discussed. We don't want to put this entire issue on our community. We're working really hard to continue to be frugal, be smart, use our funds to the highest level possible, and also bridge the gap so that we can provide a robust and a positive learning experience for our students. Without the levy, I want to be really clear that we've eliminated 11% of our budget already. So that's what we have already eliminated. Without the levy, we have very real consequences within our district. Another way to look at it, if with the compounding dollar amount and the decrease in staff, that's almost 25% of our staff eliminated over 2 years, which is significant. And it will be felt by our students and our families. It would mean imminent measures to close schools, as we've discussed, an additional 60 teaching and support positions within our schools, larger class sizes, reduction of those career and technical education programs, and our music, art, reading supports, and counselors. It's very important as a board and to our community that we have a high level of accountability with these levy dollars. That was something that as a board we discussed and put into the work that we did as we set this levy forward. We have a budget committee made up of the school board and community members who review our budget annually, and that would be reviewing the levy amount and where those dollars went. It would be a specific part of the duties of that budget committee and a yearly part of the budgeting process. We, as I said, have very clearly lined out how those dollars are spent, and that would be something that we would be very transparent, both with our budget committee, our school board, and our community, so people see very clearly what dollars we bring in and where those dollars are spent within our school community. We have, as you all know, in budgeting and line items and all of the things, it's very clear that those levy funds will be their own line item. They don't just get dumped into our general fund budget, so that we can track them, understand where they're being spent, and understand how they're being utilized at the school level. If approved, if the levy moves forward, and as a community they approve the levy, it helps us to maintain the things that, as we've talked about, are really vital to maintaining a high level and standard of education within our community. The future viability of our neighborhood schools. When we did our community and budget talks last year and this year, the neighborhood schools within our community are a significant part of the values that they have. We know this if you're in our communities. The people are very attached and have generational attachments in large part to many of our schools. Our teaching positions, as we talked about, are members of our community. We have a very high percentage of our staff who live in Canby, many of who graduated from Canby and are highly tied to our community. They are connected in many ways, and also the Canby School District is one of the largest employers within our community, so it really resonates. All of the things we've talked about, our career and technical programs would remain stable. We would continue to be able to have the counseling and nursing supports we have, which are, as we see in our students, a very vital part and continue to grow as a high need for students in our care. Our reading supports, music and arts, and athletic and extracurricular activities will maintain the level that we currently have. Want to talk really quickly about timelines. So there's a couple things that will be happening, and I think it's really important that our community and you as a council understand this. So we have, as I mentioned on the 23rd, the board adopted the local option resolution. And on April 27th, we are required to complete and notify our staff of reduction in force. So regardless of what happens, we have to move forward with balancing our budget, and we are in the middle of doing that, and that work is happening. So we are balancing our budget to that deficit that we have this year of 6.9 million, 6.3 million. So those reduction in force notifications will be going out toward the end of the month. We will begin meeting as a budget and a board in order to start balancing our budget, and we need to do that all before May 19th, which is election day, and when we know if the levy has passed or not. So that will be felt in our community. We will be, as we go through the process of cutting programs, notifying staff, and doing the hard work of balancing the budget with the deficit. You will hear that. It will be felt by our families and our teachers and our staff and our teams. So we want to be really transparent about that. We have done a significant amount of outreach to our staff and our families, and Superintendent Patterson, as she's mentioned, has done multiple meetings around this, and we will continue to do that over the next few months to continue to make sure that people are aware of what's happening and what's next. And then June 1, we adopt a budget, and as we've talked about, we will lead through where we are. We're very hopeful, because it is best for children, that we're able to lead through with a levy in hand. If not, we will make the hard decisions that we need to make to balance our budget and continue to do the best we can for students in school. I think it's really important to note that this isn't just a school problem. I think we know, and Canby is a great example of this. We're very connected. Schools matter, and you see that wherever you go. And the impacts that this will have to our community are going to be widely felt. Home and property value. We know that healthy schools equals healthy communities, and healthy property values, healthy businesses. The connections that we have with our families and the generational connections that we have across the board are extremely tight, and you see and feel that wherever you go. We talk to and work very closely with, and really want to appreciate the partnership we have with Canby PD, Canby Police Department. We have, they are just amazing partners, and we know that the health of our schools absolutely affect the safety and livability of our community. It's a very close tie and a strong relationship. At the end of the day, the health and wellness of our community makes a difference to our schools, makes a significant impact and difference in the livability of our community, which is why we wanted to make sure we're connecting with you all and partnering as we walk down this road. At that, we've wrapped up with this not so happy news conversation, but want to make sure that as a council, you understand and are aware of what's happening with the schools. It's what's happening with schools is clearly aligned with how well the city works, and the decisions that we both make affect each other. And we want to make sure that you all are aware of that and can ask questions and provide a level of support as we continue to walk down the next few months. I always like to end with a really great quote. I don't know how many of you know Doc Harms, but a longtime servant of our community and school board member, and he was known for saying communities are known by the schools they keep, and I think that may never be more true than it is today, and something that we all need to be thoughtful about, and how and what we want to our community to be known for as we look at what's ahead. So wanted to just end with that. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions, and just really appreciate your time with us this evening.
Councilor Davis, you have a question?
Question, more comment, Mayor. Thank you both very much, and thank you to the other school board members that are in the audience as well, and thank you for the time that you've put and the commitment that you've made in making those tough decisions on the cuts that you've already had to make in the event that this does not pass. But I think you've laid it out very well for all of us, so thank you for your time, and thank you for going around and as many meetings as you've been attending, trying to educate the citizens of Canby the need for this. That's crucial, and then they can make their decisions with that information. But you have done an excellent job with that as well. I think that moving forward, I think all government agencies, not only the school district, but the city, as well as the fire district and other government agencies, we're all challenged with, funding dollars for projects and for staffing and for PERS increases and things like that. And I think that collectively, together, if we better understand what's going on in our agencies and within the city, so the school district and the city. And that's why I've encouraged the city administrator to put together a joint meeting with the school board as well as the city council, because I'm going on 4 years now, and I keep wondering, what's going on over there and what's happening in the school district. And you've laid it out really well for us tonight. Of what's happening in the programs that are going on in the school district. But at the same time, too, I know that the city council is dealing with a comprehensive plan update. Well, in that comprehensive plan update, we're dealing with housing and housing needs. Mm-hmm. And what does affordable housing look like? And all those things, which to me are critical for the school district, mm-hmm. and input from the school district on that as well. And I know you have a strategic plan. I've been fortunate to be at Rotary and hear the strategic plan, but I'm only one person. And that's why I think it's so important for the city council and for the school board, so we can hear your strategic plan. And at the same time, too, Don Hardy has done an excellent job in laying out the comprehensive plan, but going over our comprehensive plan, which we'll be approving very soon. And so that you can have not only see what, the community has provided input to the city council on what does this comprehensive plan look like, but you can see what we're doing our best to try to come up with some affordable housing, whatever that is, right? But we need to bring back a vibrant community, mm-hmm. And in the vibrant community means activities. And you can kind of look at one of our cities up in Clackamas in Washington County, Sherwood, which is a very vibrant community and supported real well by the schools. And with that brings in excellent schools, which we have here in Canby. We have excellent schools, but we're still missing activities for kids. We're missing whether it's a very nice aquatic center or a very nice community center or ball fields, things like that. We're missing those things. And I've received a lot of input from citizens with that as well, But I think collectively, you guys, or the school district and the city, want the same thing. Mm-hmm. We've got the school piece, mm-hmm. but we need to tie in our comprehensive plan and looking at how do we bring in younger families into Canby. So I just wanted to thank you for your presentation tonight, and I've talked to the city administrator about trying to get this joint meeting set up as soon as possible so that we can better understand the city and the school district moving forward. The one question I had is, what is being done at the state level to turn this around?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. And I think I would say that we continue to advocate at the state level to solve this problem. And as I mentioned, that it's going to take a lot of time and work and will from those that are in charge to make those changes. And we have spent significant amount of time in Salem talking about this issue, and certainly last session, when they passed the biennium funding for the 2-year period that we're in right now, we spent a significant amount of time talking about the high cost disability and the cap that Superintendent Patterson talked about with our higher needs students to try to lift that cap. Almost made it over the line, but didn't. And so I think as we get to the next biennium, it is the time to, again, continue to advocate and speak to this problem. As Superintendent Patterson mentioned, I think my perception as I've studied this is we're getting to a breaking point for many of our schools. And you're seeing that as we look at local news, and one school after another, millions of dollars deficit and schools closing. We're getting to a point where hopefully it catches the attention of those who are making these decisions, and we can create some changes to how we're funded. We hear a lot about the funding mechanism of schools in Oregon, but I think it's really important to understand the entire picture and not pull out one piece or another and make assumptions. And I think we see that sometimes. So the more we can talk about budget the way we are talking about it and really providing a full picture of what this looks like for folks, I think the better. And we will continue to do that as a board, as a superintendent, as we get particularly closer to the next biennium. Superintendent Patterson, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that.
I think you.
Okay.
Councilor Maldonado and then Councilor Stearns.
Well, he had asked the question I was going to ask, but I will echo, thank you for the presentation. It was absolutely phenomenal and informative. I definitely wanted to know what was going on the state level as well. I mean, with Oregon being, I think we're ranked 47 right now in the nation. That's horrible.
Yes.
And I'd like to see something better changed. I definitely grew up on different times where the community did help the schools, where we didn't have the schools closing down other schools or the district closing down schools. So I'm very interested to see where we move forward on this. I have quite a few things written down here that I will be asking questions on and beating some doors on. So thank you again for showing up tonight and giving us this presentation.
Of course.
Thank you.
Councilor Stearns.
Thank you for the presentation. I know it's really hard when you come with shortfalls. I have background in the accounting profession, and I deal with this situation a lot with clients. One thing about Canby School District I've noticed ever since I've moved here about 15 years ago is that there seems to be a lot of vacant or nearly vacant land owned by the school district that doesn't seem to be any particular obvious purpose. I once did count at least 185 acres that the school district owns, and probably on my own prejudiced estimate of maybe about at least 30 or 40 of them don't seem to have a particular purpose. And of course the obvious ones are, we have a vacant school, Ackerman, and we have a lot of vacant land around Trost and Baker Prairie, that whole lot. And so I don't know if the school district has considered, selling off some of those assets. And there's also around Caris, there's a lot of lots, or at least two extra ones besides the one the school's on that the district owns. And so a lot of times when my clients are in money problems, we have to go talk about shrinking the balance sheet, the assets on that. And I'm wondering if the school district has considered taking this land that at least doesn't seem to have a use and getting somebody by selling it maybe, and also if there's houses built on it, you'd get maybe more school students as well. But I just was curious about that.
Yeah, I can ask that. That question comes up a lot, so it's a good question to ask, and I'm happy to answer that. As far as land, I know actually when I was first on the board, so it's probably been 7 years ago, we did a really comprehensive analysis of the land and the assets that we had as a district, and we did sell off lands that we felt like were not contiguous to schools, or would have a long-term that we felt would be needed long-term for our district. So we kind of went through that process of selling off land that we made the very intentional decision to do that based on where they were located and the clear understanding that they would not be necessary long-term. The second thing I would note is in that same process, we did part of the land sale included lots that we're saving for our construction program. So that's some of those acres. So, which is actually a really amazing program and one that no one else in the state has. We have 10 lots that are over in Timber Park, and the first lot that's that we've started, it's almost actually finished. The students in our high school, as part of the construction program, they build one house every 2 years. So those lots will extend that program out for a number of years and allow us to continue to provide that opportunity for students. They walk through the whole process, and it's actually a pretty phenomenal program and something that's really cool to see if you're ever interested in doing. So those acres are included in that, but they're very intentional, and we have a very clear purpose for that. The other thing that we certainly looked at this last year when we looked at all the pieces, and it's on our radar to look at coming up at a meeting here in the next few months. But what I will say, and I think what's a really important note, is a couple things. One, I wish we could go back to the one graph, but if you remember our enrollment, that's been pretty stable, but our population within our city has definitely spiked. And we have many more houses and people than we did 20 years ago. And those of us who grew up here know that to be true. It's a very different landscape and a much more robust community with many more houses than we've had in the past. And one of the things I think it's really important for us as a board to remember is we're here for just a short block of time, and we have to look at a problem that we have in front of us and a solution right now, but we also have to be thoughtful about the future, and we can't make decisions right now to solve a problem that might negatively impact our community in the future. And when we look at that continual rise in population and the increase in houses and the potential for a larger student body in 30 to 50 years, we want to make sure that we're making really prudent decisions now for later. And what I would say, and one thing to think about, if we sold off property or sold off schools and then had to build a school in 20, 30, 40 years, that comes at a very high cost to our community. That's only done by a bond, and our community would have to pay that bond. So again, it's a decision that would impact the taxpayers as well. So I think we're looking at all of those things as we make these decisions and trying to look both short-term to solve our problem, but also long-term as we're the stewards of this resource for our community for future generations. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Certainly something we look at, certainly something that we haven't put it on the shelf, and it's not something that we're not talking about. We have it on our agenda and we will be talking about it, but there's many facets to what that looks like and what we have to consider.
Councilor Waterman.
When we're in our discussions with drawing down the Urban Renewal Agency, I remember there being a line item on there of funds that were going back to the junior districts, and the Canby School District was one of those. Is that included, that money coming back included in this budget?
That's a great question, Councilor Waterman, and I got really excited when I learned that there may be some money coming our way. That bubble was quickly burst when I called down to the Department of Education. It's complicated. I'm happy to speak more to this and follow up in an email with you. But essentially, when you earn more revenue in property tax, then the state lowers the amount that you get from the state school fund. So it's unfortunately not true for us that because that property tax came back to us, we weren't able to keep it. So we ended up having it all came out of the wash is another way to say it. Back to the original thesis statement that our board chair had earlier. So I regrettably thought of every creative way I could because that would have been very helpful revenue, but ultimately wasn't up to us, and the state did essentially reclaim those dollars.
Thank you. So, yes, Councilor Patton.
Again, thank you for coming in with a presentation. I do have a couple of questions and some things I'd like clarification on. This gap, you're going to go out for a 5-year levy. It was 7 million last year. It's 6 million more this year. You're going to request 5 point some odd million. Long term, is next year's gap going to be 5 million? And the one after that, 5 more million? And the one after that, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the problem that I see is that this Band-Aid for 5 years, I never see the wound underneath healing. Like, at some point in time, more revenue has to come in above what the levy is in order to build up those funds so that when the levy goes away, that money's there. And if you folks have some magical way of figuring out how to do that, we would love for you to share that calculation with us, because we could use it. In fact, we could, pretty much every taxing district could use it, right? One of the other things I'm curious about, in your presentation, you talked about, 80% is going to staff and the various breakdown and stuff. But where is the cost of maintaining the buildings? Now, is that in a different fund that's not tied to this one through a different levy, which is kind of what I think, or where is that? So are you keeping all of the staff and everything running, but now you have no money to actually keep the buildings up?
Yeah, good question. Yeah.
I'll take the question about, so essentially your question, as I best understood it, was how do we pay for operations and facility maintenance?
Yes, was that in one of those bars in that chart, or is that a different chart?
It's a great question. This is one of the reasons that you don't have to look very far to hear. I mean, I think our neighbors in Malala had water coming through the roof of their middle school. And that is because the cost of facility maintenance is incredibly high. And I would say if you talk to business managers and facility directors across the state, as well as superintendents, they tell you that the state school fund allocation is inadequate to meet the needs of maintaining facilities and buildings. So what's true is that districts are left with options often to go forward to community with bond levies, bond measures. Bond measures are for buildings. Levies are for learning and teachers. So they're different mechanisms, different taxing mechanisms that are legally used for different purposes. And in Canby, I'll tell you, our schools are like old classic cars that are well cared for. I'm very proud of the quality of our schools and want to give a tremendous credit, not only to the staff that maintain them in operations and facilities, but importantly to our taxpayers, because you have always approved bonds, and bonds maintain buildings. So our last bond was long before I was here, but it was approved by voters overwhelmingly in 2020 to keep kids safe, warm, and dry. And we're able to do that in our schoolhouses because of that investment. So if you go to 91, yeah, it was built in the 40s, and it's a beautiful schoolhouse. It's very well maintained. And we've had facility condition assessments done by the state as recently as last spring. And by and large, our schools are in good condition. We need a new roof at Baker Prairie. We have some boilers that need care, a chiller at Trost that needs care, so we have some big ticket items. And the truth, Councilor Patton, is that our ending fund balance is far below the 5% threshold. So we have very limited reserves in our ending fund balance that would not cover the cost of a new roof or a new boiler or something like that. So it is extraordinarily important that we right-size our budget and are constantly looking forward to how are we going to both assess the needs of facilities in the future, and then what's our plan to pay for them going forward. It's probably also one of the reasons that the state has the Awesome Grant, which really receives a lot of bipartisan support in Oregon. And the Awesome Grant is essentially dollars that are allocated to districts that move forward and successfully pass a bond. So there's matching grant dollars to meet and help essentially extend what districts are able to do to take care of their buildings. I'd close by saying Jervis was a good example of this problem. Jervis almost closed their schools because they could not pass a bond and their facilities were failing to such an extent that it was not safe to house children. Their community came forward and passed the bond and kept that from happening. But I think that's another reflection of the fact that our state school fund dollars are inadequate to meet the needs of ailing and aging buildings that many districts across the state are faced with.
Okay. The last two things I have are just sort of thoughts and a question amongst us. So we have been contacted individually, I believe, to sign on to letters supporting this. But have we considered doing a letter from the council as a whole to support this measure? Or are we only relying on us each individually doing a letter in support of this?
That's a great question. I think something jointly, again, it would depend on where everybody is feeling, individually to do a collective letter. I don't know if where everyone's at on the topic of supporting the levy or not supporting the levy. So I think having an open dialogue around that may not necessarily be the best thing to do regarding putting everyone in a position of maybe stating their opinion on it right now. So doing a group letter, I don't know if that's something that I would say if the council is interested in doing that, then, email Randy and let him know your opinion on the matter. And if, we get a unanimous piece of it, then I would say we should draft a letter. But we won't know that. And so, does that seem appropriate, Randy, am I tracking correctly on that?
Yeah, I need to keep my hands off of it as much as possible as staff, but I can help facilitate if that's the directive of the council. But I won't be writing anything on the use of city equipment. Personally, the letter would be walked to you from maybe a school board chair or another elected official for consideration, so I can just stay, like the superintendent and I have to keep a bright line, of course.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So in that case, then, would that be something that we use Emily for?
Yeah.
Because again, I'm going also to be sensitive to meetings law, serial meetings and having each of you, I'm not a voting member, but it's, so I don't know, that dances really close to the line of having it come to me to tabulate that and put that together. So I will chat with Emily about that, or we can through emailing about that.
Okay, I was just curious about that. And finally, here's the thing that I just don't get it. So people complain about paying taxes, and I understand paying taxes suck. You want to keep as much money as you have because you need that money. But then on the other hand, we all rely on services such as the school and roads, and when we flush our toilet, the poo needs to go somewhere, and all of these things. And all of these things cost money. And one of the things that I find fascinating, and I don't know why other people don't key in on this, is when you look at all of these bar graphs, in the state of Oregon, you can only levy more tax, 3% each year. And for several years, the cost of everything was more than 3%. So for people to sit in the present day and say we have no clue how this happened, it just boggles my mind. And people are going to have to come to the realization that if they do not want to pay for things like this, then they're going to need to go away. We won't have great schools. And if you don't pay for it, then don't complain that the students aren't well educated. If you don't want to pay for roads, don't complain about the roads being crappy. And on the list will go. So I am a proponent of paying for this, even though I don't have children. I never will. And it's my choice. It has nothing to do with my health or anything. But I have an obligation as a citizen as a person in a society to help make sure that other people are lifted up. And so I just hope that other people can see that. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor. Superintendent Patterson, Madam Chair, thank you very much for coming this evening. I'm often, people will comment to me about how challenging or hard being a mayor or city councilor is, and I always remind them that being a school board member is 10x what it is to be a city councilor or mayor, because you're handling and making decisions regarding people's children. And so I commend you and the rest of the school board for the work that you're doing. This is not an easy lift of any kind, and so thank you for coming. I know you've been on a whirlwind tour, and that will continue probably until, what was that, the 19th? You know, so thank you. I have follow-up calls with a couple of the board members. I apologize, I was really sick for a week and a half, and so, but I do want to reach out and have conversation on how I can help. So, thank you all.
We appreciate that. Thank you for having us, and I appreciate the thanks, but know that, as Superintendent Patterson said, it's a great job to have, and I think we, as a board, we're very committed to our community and our students. So thank you for your time tonight, and we really do appreciate any support that you can provide as we navigate the next few months. So thank you for your time.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay.
Superintendent Patterson, do you have an extra card?
I do, I can get one for you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go jump down to item 7, the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda that includes the approval of the March 4th, 2026 City Council regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion's been made by Council President Hensley, seconded by Councilor Maldonado to approve the consent agenda. Any question or comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes, well, 6-0. Moving into item 9 tonight, ordinances and resolutions. 9A, ordinance number 1665, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to enter into a purchase agreement with Sealmaster to purchase new asphalt crack sealer equipment. And this is a second reading. Just sounds pretty cut and dry there, Spencer, in terms of.
Here for questions if needed.
Are there any questions after the reading from 2 weeks ago? Yes, Councilor Patton.
I move to adopt ordinance number 1665, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to enter into a purchase agreement with Sealmaster to purchase a new asphalt crack sealer equipment in the amount of $93,864.20.
Second. 33 minutes.
Oh, there it is. Motion's been made by Councilor Patton and seconded by Council President Hensley to approve ordinance number 1665, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to enter into a purchase agreement with Sealmaster to purchase a new asphalt crack sealer equipment in the amount of $93,864.20. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Patton?
Aye.
Councilor Maldonado?
Aye.
Councilor Davis?
Aye.
Councilor Stearns?
Aye.
Councilor Waterman?
Aye.
And Council President Hensley?
Aye.
That motion carries 6-0. 9B, consider an ordinance number 1666, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to enter into an agreement with Xylem Water Solutions USA to purchase 4 raw influent pumps in the amount of $94,602. Who's going to talk to us about that tonight?
Mr. Mayor, I can carry this one.
Great.
While we get a picture put up on screen.
I love talking about raw influent.
Another $93,000 item for your consideration. This is the first reading, so we'll just hit the highlights. First of all, very proud of our wastewater treatment plant here in Canby. If you'd like, we can set up a tour if you have not toured yet. I went on one my first week here. This is the entrance of the first stop for effluent as it's collected from the boundaries and into our system. The workers are very proud of this plant. They keep it finely manicured. But these 4 pumps, you only see 3 in this picture, that we're going to replace, pump up to the clarifiers. As you know, we have capacity to handle about 3 MGD, million gallons per day, and we're at about 1 on an average day. So we've got nice capacity there. But these 4 pumps, Patrick Mahoney got 3 bids. This is the lowest bid that he solicited. He got from Exelon. He also got one from Pump Tech and Abara, which were much more. So we bring these for your consideration. These have been a bit of a hassle to maintain and over the past course of the couple years, and they're in our capital budget for replacement. So,
Okay.
That said, I'll pause there.
Any questions for, yes, Councilor Stearns?
Just a question. If it's 93,000 for 4 of them, would that mean it was about to be about $23,000 a piece? If it's $23,000 a piece, why are we doing this as an ordinance, or unless we're doing it all together? That was just my curiosity.
Suggesting that I could buy them individually on my own per the budget in my $50,000 limit.
That was just my curiosity.
Yeah. I think maybe I should ask Patrick, but buying in bulk might have got us a better deal. I don't know, but I will pass that along for the second reading.
Okay. Councilor Maldonado?
What's the lifespan on those? I'm curious.
Spencer, do you have any idea? Or Steve? No.
We don't know how old the existing ones are.
I just picked one up today that they had to repair to be able to put it back into place. I know that there's a lot of maintenance involved with them, and my understanding is that they're at the end of their life.
Do we have an idea of about how old the ones that are currently there are?
I'll ask.
No, I was just always curious on how long. But yeah, that's, again, as we were talking about the school district and maintenance and, you know, when you're constantly having to replace the duct tape and baling twine to hold it together, might be time to invest in new equipment. So it sounds like that's where we're at. So, yes, Councilor Davis.
Are you ready for a motion?
I think so. Do you have another question?
I have a couple of questions. So this is for 4 pumps, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so this will be putting a 4th pump in the unused vault, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, if we will have capacity for quite a while with these 4 pumps in there, considering you said each, like, we're only at 1 million and we can handle how much?
It's designed for 2.8 MGD.
Okay.
Million gallons per day.
Okay.
And we're at 1.
So that kind of alleviates that question. And one of the pumps will still kind of act as a backup, like the 4th pump will act as a backup if one of them breaks down.
Was that covered in the staff report from Patrick? I don't know the answer to that.
It did mention that there was like one that was sort of in flux as a backup.
Okay.
I guess my question would be is if we put in the 4th and now we're using what would be the backup, maybe if there's capacity, we should consider putting in another vault for a 5th pump, looking towards the future. If we're going to do this work now, then maybe it would make sense, like if there's going to need to be some blasting and some jackhammering and such, maybe it would be good to look at putting in a 5th vault in preparation for a 5th pump in the future, spending that money now to save it later sort of thing.
Okay.
That was what I had.
The pumps are about 25 years old.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to know. Does that answer your questions?
I'll check on the 4th.
Okay.
Okay. Councilor Davis.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 1666, an ordinance approving interim city administrator to enter into an agreement with Exelon Water Solutions USA to purchase the 4 RAW influent pumps in the amount of $93,602 to a second reading April 15th, 2026.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Davis and seconded by Councilor Maldonado to approve ordinance number 1666, an ordinance approving interim city administrator to enter into an agreement with, is it Xylem? Okay, Xylem Water Solutions USA to purchase the 4 RAW influent pumps in the amount of $93,602 for a second reading on April 15th, 2026. Any other discussion or comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 6-0. 9C this evening is ordinance number 1667. An ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to enter an agreement with 3J Consulting regarding the UGB expansion and code audits. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Hudson and council members. I'm going to try to make this simpler than maybe the staff package that you all have to kind of boil this down. We've received a $75,000 grant from Department of Land Conservation and Development, which is helping pay for the code audit that we're already budgeted for this fiscal year, which combined together, that gives us everything we need. As you might recall, last year during the budget process, it was important to do the code audit and start that work, and you all funded that, but it was recognized that that was not fully funded. So we're getting $20,000 from Department of Land Conservation and Development, which will match up with the funding that we set aside in our budget that we currently have. So we're matching up our budget that we currently have in our planning budget now with that money. And then there's another $15,000 that DLCD is providing for additional urban growth boundary expansion work. And then another $40,000 is given to the city to pay for existing contractual work with 3J Consulting that's not been completed, but that we'll receive that directly, and we're not actually giving that to the consultant that's paying for work that's already scoped and contracted. So it basically merges $66,000 of already budgeted work for the code audit. And part of that, there's like $10,000 in there for SDC work to update the SDC program, which we're working on, system development charges. That's matched up with $35,000. So 66 and 35 is 101,000. That's the contract to 3J. And then 40,000 we're keeping, which is part of the grant. And this is a bit complicated, so we ended up putting a contract together, since the 35,000 is not ours until we get it from the state. We have a contractual arrangement that the consultant will sign that they agreed until we're paid, they're not getting paid. So that's the contract. So we're not out anything beyond what that is. This is continuation of work that we are already doing with the comprehensive plan and urban growth boundary expansion. So it's a continuation of that work. We vetted this with our legal counsel, and everything is copacetti on that part of it. So we're just simply seeking the contractual authorization from you all and we'd start the code audit work in May and move that forward. We'll be seeking other grants for the code update work and the code audit and code update. A lot of discussion, and Randy will cover a bit of that this evening, probably later on in his report. But he and I were at a presentation this morning presenting to the Canby Realtors. We understand the school board issues, and like housing is a really big deal, and housing costs are a really big deal. So the code audit and code update are intended to create opportunities to have more flexibility in housing product type, which I think the city badly needs, at lower price points, and dealing with other things, which we will also be addressing, and we've talked about with council in our housing production strategy, which deals with things like how do we create opportunities and synergies with developers and partner with them on like workforce housing and those kinds of things that the city needs to do more of, and what part can the private development group provide and what part can the city provide. It's a two-sided equation. It's not one-sided. And so that's something that's coming, but the code audit will give us the ability to start that work and identify those areas where we need to bring these things up to speed to be consistent with more housing affordability product type, and then the code update will happen subsequently. And again, we'll be seeking grants for that as well. A bit more information than you maybe wanted to have tonight, but just some context.
No. So Don, I guess my question is, our city code is huge in regards to buildings and housing and all that. So is this and forgive me for not remembering this from the report, but is this a matter of looking at just specifically the code around housing?
It would be the entire Title 16, which is the development code.
Okay,
So it's the whole
the one that
thing.
we've been talking about wanting to get done for the last couple of
There are
years.
other sections of the code that will, kind of be tackling a bit separately in the SDC part, because that's actually in Section 4, but that's kind of be separate, but it really would be the entire Chapter 16, which is the whole zoning and development code.
Okay.
So we're just trying to, again, move it forward. There was, initially, it was a bit clunky where we were like trying to work with DLCD, and they were a bit flexible, which is great, about how we were going to do this and carve it out. And we have a great relationship with them, and they've been a great partner. And so they kind of got what we were trying to achieve here, and it felt like a win-win. And then they're also knowing that we're trying to advance the housing issue as well, in addition to our urban growth boundary expansion, which is also part of the housing thing as well. And if we don't have enough land, we're not going to have houses, and that's a big part of it as well.
So great. Any other questions for Don? Yes, Councilor Patton.
So when it comes to the code update portion, are we talking, we're going to really actually dig into that 2027? 2028?
So we're going through the code audit, will probably be about a year process, code audit, and then the update will be through another year. So we're looking at a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, again, we'll try to do it more quickly than that, but that's generally the time frame.
I'm just glad to see it's finally getting done. I'm sick and tired of hearing people say we need to do it. It should have been done years ago.
Yeah.
But you know what? At least we're getting there. The last thing I will say is I went to the Clackamas City's dinner meeting, and Estacada is doing this big project at their old mill site. And they were saying that they had like different blobs on their map about, high density residential, commercial, cottage clusters, all of these various things. And they had said that they had turned the entire property, the mill property, into its own special zone, so that they had more flexibility within that zone to then create little subzones within it. I will be very curious to see how we do those sort of things for the future. Like if the ability to do those sort of things.
That planning and development, and I ironically heard about the same thing from someone else on that they have very expensive homes and also small homes mixed all together. So you have $1 million homes next to homes that are substantially smaller that would be affordable.
Correct. And whatever's going on over there, we need to make sure that that's baked into our code to be able to do that for the future. Because I think that is going to go towards what we're talking about here with the school district of smaller entry-level homes where folks can, and ultimately the goal would be similar to a reverse sort of situation like they have at Hope Village, where people come in and then they go out. This would be, you start out with a small house and then you move up to a bigger house and then go on from there. That's what I would like to just put on the bubble for as you start to do this.
Well, and that goes into the conversation too. From we were talking about cluster development, and a lot of the conversation around being able to pull that off is going to be, I think, through the PUD process and doing it that way versus trying to find a developer that's going to commit to, cottage cluster type development. So
And I think the refinement, we do have some of those tools. We have cottage cluster, and we did update our PUD ordinance. I think some of this is, and Randy and I have some ideas from the discussion with Canby Realtors this morning. They were very interesting they've had a ton of great observation. They were not shy at all. And they brought forward a ton of stuff about housing affordability. It was a very interesting conversation. But I think, trying to find this partnership with this is the target we're trying to hit on price point. This is to a developer and we're willing to provide X. Can you get us to the price point? And what is the compromise? It needs to be at that level, I think, to be successful. Market rate is not going to get us there. It has to be addressed on, the synergies have to be related to what price point are we trying to target and what can the city do to help with that? And then how do we get to an agreement on that?
Sure. Okay. It sounds like a ton more to come. Council President Hensley.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 1667, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to enter into a contract amending the contract adopting for the urban growth boundary final system development charge methodology and adoption hearings and commencing the Canby Code audit scope of work and budget for FY 25-26.
Second. Motion has been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Waterman to approve ordinance number 1667, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to enter into a contract, amending the contract adopting for the urban growth boundary, final system development charge methodology, and adoption hearings, and commencing the Canby Code audit scope of work and budget for FY 25-26. Any further discussion or comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Don. Appreciate it. Item D, ordinance number 1668, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an amended employment contract with the interim city administrator, Randy Ely. It sounds like there was some conversation at the last city council meeting about this, and so it looks like according to the ordinance, I'm going to just touch on a couple of the whereases. The city of Canby has employed Mr. Ely as interim city administrator since June 23, 2025, and the current contract expires on June 30th of 2026. And the council stated that Mr. Ely has been and continues to be in good standing with the city of Canby in his interim role, and the parties wish to amend the interim city administrator contract to expire on December 31st, 2026. Comment? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. At the last council meeting, Council President Hensley and myself were asked to sit down with the current interim city administrator, Randy Ely, which we did, and with also Pete, the HR director. The highlights of this discussion were based upon that we ensure continuity within the city with the current projects that we have going, extending the contract to December 31st, as you stated. Potential of, we do have a charter committee that's currently looking at the city charter and possibly looking at making changes to the city charter. Some of the major projects that we have going that I think it's important to maintain our interim city administrator are parks, transportation, sewer storm adoption, the TSP study, the comp plan adoption, Walnut Street extension, revised street maintenance fee, police chief retiring here very soon, as well as filling a public works director, and another round of council goal setting amongst other things. The main highlights in the contract that we talked about, a little bit difference is no change in the salary. For November and December of 2026 only, the city will pay the interim city administrator $2,000 per month stipend for the purchase of his medical insurance, which he currently has, which will be terminating in November. And beginning November 1st, the interim city administrator will be given opportunities to continue his deferred comp, which would be current up till November is $1,500. Starting in November would be a 5% monthly salary, monthly match for his deferred comp. And the city also agrees to credit in the city administrator some executive leave. We, in our discussion, found out that he's spending a lot of time, obviously, which we all appreciate, attending the various committees, and is much more than we even knew that was happening. But it wasn't spelled out that he'd have any executive leave for making up some of that time for night meetings and things like that. So we recommended a 40-hour executive leave match, which would be in this extension of this contract. But very much appreciate the work that the interim city administrator has done to this point. I've heard nothing but positive comments from around the city for the work that he's done, but I think more importantly, the continuity of these projects that we currently have going are crucial. That's why I recommend this contract extension to the council.
Great.
And Tracy, anything you want to add?
You pretty much covered the whole meeting very quickly too, I might add. Thank you. With that, I guess I can just make a motion that we adopt or approve ordinance number 1668, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an amended employment contract with the interim city administrator, Randy Ealing.
Second.
All right, motion's been made to approve ordinance number 1668, extending the interim city administrator contract to the end of the year, December 31st of 2026. And this will come up for a second reading on April 15th of 2026. Any further conversation or dialogue? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, carries 6-0. No, thank you, Randy. You've been doing a great job and really appreciate it. So thank you.
You're okay.
Well, I'm sitting here and they're talking about vacation time? Come on, really? Oh, man, whatever. Jeez, don't you get to come and go whenever you want? Like, what?
What's vacation?
Yeah, yeah. All right, we're skipping 10 because there is no public hearings. Moving into item 11A, continued SDC discussion and schedule final public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're continuing our discussion on the system development charge.
Hey, Don, can I interject?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Sorry, Mayor.
8 minutes.
Yeah.
No, I just saw that, so.
And he's got a stack, a deck, and
19 slides.
So it is 8:51. We generally shoot to be done by 9. I guess I need a motion or thoughts from the council on whether or not we want to extend till time certain in the future.
I unfortunately cannot stay the night.
And I personally have to have somebody I got to pick up at the airport.
Okay. So I guess that still would leave us a quorum to continue business. If that's the case, the rest of the council want to stay or?
How fast can you talk, Don?
I think, to be honest with you, if you all are in agreement, I think we could get to the end of this pretty quickly. I mean,
yeah.
Don't be intimidated by the number of slides. We do not need to go through every one of these.
Well, no. So
I don't want to shortchange you.
Yeah, I don't. This is important stuff, and I don't want to shortchange it. And then there's still 4 additional items after that to talk about.
Gotcha.
So that's where I yield to the council on that piece. So
I'm fine with staying as well.
I will begrudgingly stay, but I'm going to go to the girls' room right now.
okay,
I'll be back.
and we'll speak for Chief or Councilor Davis. He can stay as well.
So are we?
That's what happens when he gets
Are we going to set time for 9:30 or?
It's your guys' call.
I think 10 minutes now.
I'm thinking 15.
15.
Yeah.
We will shoot for 9:30.
9:45?
Shoot for 9:30.
I mean, if you want.
We can extend it again.
I have a page of stuff to go through.
I know you
council
do.
comments, and so next time it will just be 2 pages. So the longer we wait, the longer I need.
So I'm going to have to probably
Take my leave. Take your leave right now.
An hour later.
Well, we can leave early, so let's do 9:45 and.
Great. Well, if we leave before then, we'll take the gift of time.
Okay.
Don, the show is yours, sir.
Should we
Please.
wait for Councilor Hensley and Davis to?
No.
Just plow on through, it's all right.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and
Jim's
Councilor
back.
Davis this should be secondhand because he was at the Parks and Rec meeting. And so the context here is, we met with you last time on March 4th. This is regarding the Parks 20-year project list. And the direction council gave us is to go back to Parks and Recreation Advisory Group. We did that on March 17. They came back with a revised list that is very close to what we call the Davis Haddon combined plan. And that plan, that 20-year list is what we'd like to talk with you all tonight about is, and so that's just kind of the first few slides here. And let's go through this quickly. So
Did that.
this again is,
Thanks, Herman.
this is what the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee came up with, and that's $103 million over 20 years. They did add in a couple projects that the Davis pad and plan did not have, which was the dog park and the Ivy Ridge Estates neighborhood park. Those are the two that they added back in. And so that difference between that and the Padden Davis plan is this one here. So you can see 100 million versus 103 million over 20 years. So those are the differentials between those two, and I'm going back and forth too fast probably, but essentially that's it. And then I want to cut to the chase, like what does this material really mean? And so we looked at the 3-year phase-in and a 5-year phase-in of that parks plan that the Parks and Rec Committee on March 17th provided. And this is what the 3-year phase-in looks like. And then the 5-year phase-in is the next slide. And so that's it. And so I think part of this is we have FCS consultant, we have Todd Chase online as well. He's directing this whole process in terms of the consulting piece of it. What we'd really like to do is be able to give direction to FCS to do the methodology report. I mean, when we get to the hearing, these numbers can still be adjusted. This is not a vote tonight where we're asking you to commit to everything that's here, but we need the general direction that like we're okay, so we're not going back to Parks and Rec again, and hopefully we're there on that piece of it.
So you need from us tonight, are we good with the 103 million? Yeah, 103 million, or are we going to cut those two projects and go with the Padden Davis? Is it the Davis Padden or the Padden Davis? Davis
Whatever, we're
Padden
just going
plan.
to call it the plan.
The hybrid. And then if I remember correctly, our conversation last month was, at least it seemed to be that the council was interested more in the 3-year scale up instead of the 5, unless that's changed. So.
That's correct.
Okay. 3.
And the one part that we do want to just acknowledge, and I think it's in your packets, is we did receive a letter from the Home Builders Association of Portland.
Yeah.
And they.
You said Portland?
Portland, yes.
Yeah, they don't count.
And their comments are related to the parks in specific and the suggestion that be handled not as an SDC, especially for the regional park elements here like sports complex and the aquatic center, but there should be a bond is what they were suggesting for those kind of improvements. So that, again, our consultant Todd Chase is here to respond to their letter if needed, but I want to, in fairness, make sure you all receive that and we can discuss that as needed.
I don't think it's needed.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think specifically in these plans, it's not, the money is calling for land acquisition for such a thing, not the actual construction of the thing.
It's actually both. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the key issue, and maybe boiling this down in that letter that they provided, is that the identification in their minds for home builders that this is correcting a deficiency versus creating capacity. I do not believe we are on the same page as that, as they're stating that, because I don't believe it's our belief that it's making up a deficiency.
So let's say this, Don. So I think, so the two things you need tonight, are we in sync with the park board? That's the first question. Second question is 3-year or 5-year. And I would say let's table the Portland Home Builder Association conversation and look at that, or is it at the public hearing date? Or do we need that solved tonight as well?
I don't think that needs to be solved tonight. Okay. That is definitely a hearing item. And okay. So there'll be 60 days from the methodology report once we hopefully get direction from you all. And then July 1 is hopefully the hearing date. That's what we're targeting. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Yes, Councilor Waterman?
Yeah, I'm good with the parks plan and the 3 years.
I'm good with that too.
Parks plan, 3 years. Councilor Patton?
I will just say a couple of things when I was reading through this. I would still like to see more allocated towards the Emerald Necklace, but I'm not going to die on that sword. I'm going to save that fight for another day, because I think that's something that the city's been talking about for a long time. And I am a big proponent of us not cutting future council short. And if we have the ability to get those right of ways, we need to be able to have the funds to do that. And so that's what I will say about that. I was under the impression the reason the dog park was removed from both of our plans was because that money and also the Ivy Ridge Park was because that money was already budgeted. Was that not the case?
I believe that is correct. I mean, that kind of went back and forth, and I don't think it was budgeted, so I think that's the reason it went back into yeah.
Okay. And, go ahead.
Yeah, at the meeting, I pointed out that that was a priority for the council, and it wasn't on the list, and I asked that it be put back in.
Okay. And then I will just say with that dog park, this is for a question for later. And some of the initial plans that I had saw in an effort to get restrooms up there for the dog park, there was also talk about putting in an RV sewer dump, because it would be, and I wasn't sure if that's still part of that larger plan.
It is.
It is. Okay, fantastic. That's it for me. Wouldn't you know?
Great.
And the one, I just want to make sure, Todd, does this give you the direction that you need if we 3-year phase in? And I want to give you a chance to speak.
Yeah, I think that the importance of these long-range planning lists is that they need to be adopted before you change the STC methodology. And so if you're okay with this list, when we do get to the hearing, there will probably be one hearing on adoption of these long-range planning lists, and then you'll close that hearing, and then we'll open up the hearing on the STC methodology. So yeah, that's great. And again, as Don mentioned, we can change any of these assumptions right up to the end of the second hearing. And so that's great. We can put this on the table in a draft methodology now and let folks chew on it for 60 days and then come back to you with a public hearing with their input and then decide what to do at that time.
And Todd, on the letter from home builders, thoughts on that in relation to the SDCs you've done for other cities, which are numerous?
Yeah, I think you know, I have no issue with what they have to say. Bonds are a great way to finish off some of these big regional facilities. SDCs are a good way to get them started, acquire the land, maybe do a modest first phase, wait for the community to get behind a good plan, and you know, whether it's through a regional, you know, parks district formation or through a local bond. We can have that discussion in the future, but this will certainly get you started with what needs to be done with acquiring the land and then, you know, master planning the development. As far as their level of service comments, we have no concern about that. I know we've talked with your city attorney before about this issue, and we're fine with the way we're framing this up with the eligibility shares calculated the way they are.
Thank you.
So, question, really, I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. So our goal is to get to that 8%.
Actually, less than that if possible, like 6 to 7% on the sensitivity analysis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question being is, if we are generating ahead of schedule STC fees, does then that not necessarily mean that we need to institute year 3's increase?
I mean, part of this is premised on the list. I mean, it's aspirational in the sense that we're trying to do this over 20 years, but I mean, all these projects are in concept going to be hopefully completed in 20 years. I think part of the decision, you know, process here for you all is, you know, the value that we put on these that's in your control.
Right.
And I think that's part of it. And then also the realization of what we do collect. And to your point that if the collection is, let's say we get a huge spurt of growth, we could come back and revisit this again based on those. I would suggest that would be the appropriate way. I don't think we can build it in and say, well, we're not going to charge for that final year. But I think I would suggest we revisit that at that point if we have that abundance, which I would love to see if the interest rates went down. I mean, that would help everyone on the housing prices just in general. I mean, interest rates are a killer. I mean, in terms of the cost, they just are. I mean, it's almost as bad as the price tag of the home that we're dealing with now, but it does soften that a bit.
No, and I like I said, I pretty much knew that answer going into it because it is such a long-term piece, and that is not something that you collect in 3 years by any stretch of the imagination. So it was just, again, going back to the home builders piece about bonding versus spreading it out amongst everything that gets built. So thank you. Councilor Patton.
I did forget one thing from public comment earlier at the meeting. The comment was made that the fees are paid at the end of the permitting process and that they can change throughout that period of time.
That is not correct. Yeah, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I guess my question is, is the way that we do it standard operating procedure, or do other cities collect those fees at different times?
I believe a lot of them collect them at the building permit phase, and part of the reason we collect them at the building permit phase is because the county building department takes care of all the building permit processes that we deal with. And from the point that we actually issue the permit, we have a sign off, it's 100% the county. We're not doing any reviews. I mean, Public Works is doing some reviews on connections of sewer, water, those kinds of things, but planning is basically done at that point. And we're relying 100% on the county to do the inspection and reviews of those buildings. And so that's part of the reason. At any point in time, somebody can ask, how much is my system development charge going to be? Now, in our situation here, we are changing that rate after 13 to 15 years for parks and transportation in particular, which are the heavy hitters here. We have not changed those in that time frame. So this year is unique. But I would say, generally speaking, after we go through these, let's say it's the 3-year phase that you all support, you're going to see only the ENR index, the inflationary index, which ironically is going down for the first time this year, meaning inflation is actually going down. They're going for a short amount of time between the time that this gets adopted and by like July 15, a second reading. So between July 1 and July 15, they're actually, they're going to even be lower than they currently are because we will adopt a new fee schedule for that. It's a very short time, but from that point on, after there'll be an ENR after the third phase of this project, and that's just an inflationary index, which can go both ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are collecting the fee when pretty much everybody else is collecting.
I believe so, and I don't really. Part of this is.
Well, then what I would say is, if I would like more information about that, rather than trying to skin that banana right tonight.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and hold off on that, but I would like an update on when we are actually doing that.
Yeah. No,
because we have a public comment.
Sure.
And if it's wrong, we need to make sure that the education is done. And if it's right, then we need to talk about, do we change it? That's what I'm after.
And it's in our ordinance right now. I mean, currently, this is not something I'm determining. It's in our ordinance.
It's in the ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Oh, sorry, Councilor Waterman.
Just the reminder too that we're currently in like the bottom 20% of SDCs in our whole surrounding area. And these changes that we're making aren't because we just want more money, it's because we're falling behind on keeping up with our infrastructure as it is as far as funding. And so, and with the 3-year, even with doing the 3-year part going out, even once we get into that 3 to 5 years, we might initially be higher to the top 60%, 80%,
But even by the time we get there, everybody else is going to be catching up, and so we're going to be in a spot where we're probably still around the average at that time. So it's not like we're stretching, reaching out, anything crazy on these.
I was trying to get the slide. I think it might be hidden, Maya. There's a slide that actually shows that. But yeah, but to your point, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, again, even with this implemented, we're not the top, we're not the bottom, we're in the middle. So, okay. All right, you got the direction you need?
3-year phase in with the March 17 Parks plan. We'll move forward with that. And so the next process will be Todd and his team will put the methodology report together. We'll post that on our website, and that's 60 days in advance of the hearing, and then we'll set the hearing hopefully for July 1. And thank you all for your input. Good discussion.
No, thanks, Don. Good job.
Thanks, Don.
Great. 11B has been removed from the agenda, so the housing project production strategy piece, so that's not on there. We'll take that off. Mayor's business. Item 1, I got a couple of things. So C4, Clackamas County Coordinating Committee is tomorrow, so nothing to report on that. Region 1 Area Commission on Transportation, that is next Monday, so I'll report on both of those at the next meeting. Chief Tro's retirement. He's not here, but I do, it was a bummer to hear. I knew that was coming. We've known it's been coming. I think Chief Tro has done an amazing job carrying the torch of Chief Smith and keeping Canby being Canby and safe and keeping us in that top 5 of safest cities in the state. So I'm sure he's at home watching in his pajamas eating popcorn.
He's watching baseball.
Oh, it's baseball. Yeah, never mind, it's baseball time. So the Dodgers must be, no, he's a Yankees fan, Dodger fan.
Yankees played earlier.
Oh, so anyways, I appreciate all that Chief Tro has done. And we'll definitely miss him as part of our police force. I had a meeting today with a couple of, Randy and some staff members. And Pete, can I have you come up? Because I want to talk a little bit about the police chief recruiting and interviewing process. So do you want to just lay out kind of loosely what we were thinking?
Yes, Pete Wood, HR Director, so Mayor, members of the council. So we met, kind of went over the timeline with the mayor, Randy, with Chief Tro. So just kind of outline, hoping to post the job posting tomorrow. We'll leave it open for the month of April. Then the first week of May, we'll do our HR analysis scrub, and then interview 1 is looking at May 20th and we'll do a 2-panel concurrent panel. So 1 panel will be 5 police chiefs and 2 members of the Canby Police Union. And then the other panel will be some key Canby leaders, members of city staff, directors. And then so the candidates will interview with both panels. And then from those panels, we'll come up with a list of 2 to 3 finalists. And then sometime about the end of May, working around Memorial Day, have our finalist panel.
Our finalist panel?
Yes.
Yeah, so again, the conversation last time, I mean, Chief Tro was kind of, he had been in the wings and we really didn't go through a really arduous process. But back when Chief Smith was being interviewed, it was a different time and we did a lot more, there was a lot more outreach and a lot more, I mean, it was a pretty extensive series of interview gauntlets that the candidates went through. We hired a firm to help and all this. Pete and Randy think that it can be done internally, so we don't have to go through a firm to do that. There seems to be, according to Chief Tro, a lot of local being state of Oregon, nearby Southwest Washington, potential interest in the position. So we don't have to cast a nationwide search like we did the last time or 2 times ago. So again, we just wanted to kind of get the feel from the council in terms of, again, as Pete laid out, they'll do the first blush of candidates and weed those out, bring it down to, the top 2 or 3, and then it would be another like kind of round robin interview with, council and then kind of, again, 2-panel group to kind of go through and then reconvene after that and then decide, make a recommendation. My big piece is, again, at the time, the chief position is a high-profile position in the city, in any city. But again, that's not really under the purview of the council. It really is under the purview of the city administrator to make that decision, though I still think because of the high-profile piece of it, that we be involved and have community members involved as well. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Thoughts, concerns? Yes.
I like the way it's laid out. And perhaps the way the council could be involved is if you did a meet and greet with the top 3 members and at nighttime, and just have kind of a meet and greet and have them introduce themselves and things like that. And that's where the council could participate in that meet and greet with the top 3 people and provide input back to our city administrator.
Okay, that sounds great, Councilor. We can do that.
Councilor Waterman?
Yeah, I like it too. I do have a question though about how the process is going to work with citizens being involved in this. Like who gets picked? How does that get chosen? How does that work? And then making sure that our citizens are equally represented in this, because the police chief is for everybody in this community. So.
Invitations to our school board chair and superintendent are already out, but there will be others for the panel. Okay, that's the panel. But to your question, Councilor Waterman, we might have a public night where anybody can come.
Meet and greet.
A meet and greet, like Councilor Davis said. So we make sure that there is representation from anybody who's interested.
Okay. Make sure that. I mean, they should, people can still provide some feedback and stuff as well.
We could.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the piece too, is we want to make sure that, the citizens have an opportunity to, if they feel warm fuzzies or they're like, oh gosh, no, please don't hire this person. That's feedback. We've done very similar feedback forms at the end. People can write their comments and that kind of helps tailor our conversation or, what will ultimately end up being, Randy and Pete's decision and Chief Tro. Yes.
Yeah, I guess I like where this is going, but I want to echo Paul's point that if we're going to involve community, a dichotomy of community needs to be involved and not the same characters that normally get involved.
Okay.
To that point, what's being talked about here with the council having involvement in this runs afoul of the city charter, because technically we should not have any, hiring this position should be no different than hiring any other director here at the city. I understand where the mayor is coming from and I echo his comment, but what I think we should do is use this as an opportunity to vet this process. And if this is the way, if this works well, then as we make our city charter updates, we need to make sure that there's some sort of language in there so that in the future, if this is really considering the, the gravitas of the filling of this position, then maybe there needs to be some look at how we make those adaptations to allow future councils some sort of involvement in the process, or set things up so that way future councils aren't running the foul of the city charter to be involved in this process. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, now we did have that bit of that conversation today too, of just not wanting, the council to get wrapped up around the axle on this one necessarily. So, okay, yes.
Just to clarify, Jason, council involvement would be the same as the citizens.
Yeah.
So in other words, we would just be a citizen there and providing input back just like a normal citizen would be, not as a councilor.
Because in years past, when we did Chief Smith, council was its own interview group.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll look at trying to do that the same day that we're doing the finals interview, just in case we have folks traveling, candidates traveling from a great distance. So
okay,
we'll get that scheduled.
Great. Thank you, Pete.
Right,
appreciate
thank you.
it. Yeah.
Thanks, Pete.
A couple more items here real quick. Amy Nguyen of Dragonberry Produce is planning a it's her and people from state level to do a trip to Vietnam as part of kind of the sister city piece, as well as, again, kind of we'll call it a trade mission to represent the Pacific Northwest and whatnot. And so she has asked if I would attend the trip as well as being a representative for the City of Canby. And so in talking with her, bringing it to you all, because again, it's got budget implications in terms of the cost. My understanding from her is that accommodations, food is all covered. It would be the airline ticket for the most part to get there and get back. And so I guess I'm coming to the council to say, do you have any objections or thoughts? And we're looking at probably between $3,000 and $3,500 for the cost. Did have a conversation with Randy about that in terms of council budget and whatnot. And so I wanted to get your thoughts and approval before I commit to Mr. Nguyen about being able to go. Yes.
I understand why they'd want the mayor to go. I don't have any problems with that at all. I have a problem with the budget amount. We're already, without looking at this year's budget and not knowing how this year's budget's going, as well as next year's budget and cuts in the budget, I'd have to have a better idea where the money's coming from out of the budget, since it wasn't budgeted for.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Patton.
I agree. I think we should, I'm not opposed. So here's my thoughts, considering this is a new thing. Is this would this be more of like an annual thing, or is this a one-time thing?
One-time thing.
And then no one ever goes back again?
No, I don't, sorry. I can't say. I don't know. Because the plan, I think, is then, as Amy explained to me, they're hoping to come this direction at the end of the summer or first part of the fall. Would it be an every year thing? That I don't know yet.
Okay.
I can't speak to that.
So here's what I recommend. I am all for us sending a city representative over there as part of a thing. What might make sense is to get an idea of what that back and forth looks like and what that cycle looks like, and then build into the budget that a representative from the council or the mayor goes. And maybe it is a rotation thing where one time it's the mayor, the next time it's open to somebody else on council if they're interested in going. And I would also say that for a flight like that, if we're going to budget numbers, you cannot, I strongly recommend that it not be like an economy ticket. We need to budget in at least business or some other thing, because that is a very long flight. And it is going to be excruciating for someone to sit in that. So if you are budgeting for it, it needs to be budgeted and not the seat behind the toilet, okay? But that's what I think we should do, is look at it, get some more information about what this cycle looks like, get a better understanding of what that cost is for that ticket, and build some sort of plan about how we're going to be part of this process.
Okay.
Seems reasonable.
Councilor Waterman?
When this was first kind of brought to us, we haggled over whether we were whether paying the $400 for to join the organization to be able to redo this thing, and now we got another $4,000 here, and last year we cut the budget of council training and et cetera, and travel. So it seems a little tight for me right now to be able to say, well, we're going to cut other departments, but then we're going to just randomly show up and say we're going to fly across the world. So I have a little harder time with that.
Okay. That's why I ask.
Mayor?
Yes.
Maybe go back to them and just explain that we're in a budget situation and we'll look at possibly budgeting in the future, but can they pay that if they really want the mayor to attend?
Okay. Thoughts, Council President Hensley?
Nothing to add. It all sounds reasonable to me.
Okay. Great. Last piece I have for you all, I know I have been, as of late, springing on fun projects on you all, but I have another one just to bring forward. So I've been working with Randy and city staff kind of parallel to the comp plan and having conversation at the county level as well as at some people at the state level about and have had conversations with a neighboring city of Barlow about possibly combining and bringing Barlow under Canby jurisdiction. I don't know if that's the right word, but under our extending the Canby boundary to include Barlow.
They're an incorporated city.
Well, that's why that's why taking that to state and the county to get support for that. And so we're kind of moved to a point where I'd like to bring this forward as conversation in a future meeting to lay out those details, but just initial first thoughts on it. Councilor Waterman, any initial thoughts?
I don't even know where I would even start right now, honestly. With that.
Okay.
That's a big what?
How much is it going to cost us, and how much can they bring in for revenue?
Well, and that was the piece looking at it was, Barlow is you've got the gravel pits that will have an end life coming up, and what could that look like from a housing or economic development standpoint? Yeah. Resources for them, we're part of the water treatment aspect coming up and being able to, do we move into that aspect of it being a regional water supply piece, and therefore we're supporting, Barlow already in that regards. So that's kind of why I was, kind of looking at that. So yeah, those are questions. Yeah, we kind of I didn't want to go further down the road and start having numbers crunched to see what that was how that would even look like. Yes, Councilor Davis.
I would support a work session on that, just so we can get more information from the city administrator on what our options are with that, but also looking at what are their water systems, which I know, which are non-existent, and, some of those things that could be very costly. So, we need to have a work session on that.
Okay. Council President Hensley, anything?
I would say at least a work session. This was a big wow. What does their mayor and council think of this idea? Or have you even brought it to them?
Yeah, there's interest.
Okay. A work session would definitely be in order. It's too much to flesh out right now. That kind of threw me for a loop.
Okay. Councilor Patton?
So here's my thoughts on this. I'm not opposed to something like this, but the thing, if you look at the rural and you look at the rural reserve map, there is a delineation of rural reserve in between Barlow and the city. So I don't even see, from what I understand, how would they even become part of the city if there is land that will never be developed in the next 40 years in between us? So that's one thing. The next thing I will say is this, and this is no offense to you, Brian, but here's the deal. This is huge. This is a huge conversation. And to me, this sort of thing, before you were having conversations with the county or this person or that person, this board should be involved in that because that's our job. Okay. And so for us to now find out that you have been having these conversations with county leaders and stuff, and it's like, oh, now we should have been included in this when the ingredient list of the bread was being made, not when the dough is already ready to start mixing it together. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay. Randy, what's the date today?
April 1st.
It is. And what is April 1st generally?
You butt.
Oh, wait, is
April
that what
Fool's
you're
Day.
doing? Oh, I was going to have to get out my blood pressure cuff.
You wasted 5 minutes of our life
All
on
right.
that.
That was fantastic.
Oh, I was fired
Randy,
up.
you were sweating blood.
I was fired up.
That's why I looked at you before I started.
I thought I was getting fired.
Thank you all. That was an April Fool's joke. we're not looking to annex Barlow. I have not talked to any state,
I was so
county,
mad.
anybody.
I made it till 9:30 almost, and I'm getting tricked.
You know,
son of
so
a
that's
gun.
why I started at this end of the table. Thank you, sir. Because I knew your head would explode, and I was banking on that. Whoo, Nelly, that was
I think
fantastic.
I kept myself together pretty well.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
no.
Not really, Jason.
Yeah.
I could have been
Yeah, you were
alive.
pretty calm.
I did not stand up.
Calling
during my
the
speech.
mayor to task on outside planning.
You called him Brian.
Well, and when Don left, I was like, oh, this will be good, because I think Don would have blown it, because he had no idea that, I told Randy yesterday
Don
that
would
I
have
was
been like,
doing.
wait, what?
God.
Yeah, Randy. I could have done that to Randy or to Don.
I showed my
All
cards
right.
there, obviously.
Did you know he was going to do that?
Yesterday I found.
I told him yesterday I was going to do
Holy
that.
guacamole.
So-
Okay.
He says to me, he's like, whatever you do, don't look at me, because I'll crack. And I'll start laughing, because I know it's coming. So,
Sitting right next to Jason.
yeah. Right.
He was not in my crosshairs yet.
All right.
Don't worry about that.
Pretty close, though.
All right, Councilor Comments and Liaison Reports. Councilor Waterman.
Nothing has happened yet.
All right. Councilor Davis.
Park and Rec, Don covered long work and discussion by the Park and Rec Committee in regards to the comp plan and the FDCs. We had discussion around Arneson Park. Is that Arneson Park? By Fred Myers. You'll recall a few years ago we did a cleanup there. And they want to get in there and do some more planting and clean up and things like that. They wanted to see about cleaning up some limbs, which they've been doing. I've seen a lot of cutting going on in there, so thanks for doing that. A lot of windfall down there. There was some discussion around Redwood Landing, putting in a deck at Redwood Landing, which is at Willow Creek there, above the creek. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on that to see if we can even get close to that at this point. So that was brought up as far as an observation deck. And Auburn Farms, the park is moving right along. I did notice the bathrooms are in and the gazebos, the roofs aren't on the gazebos last time I went by, but the gazebos are going in. They're probably April now, probably completion date.
We're still looking at Memorial.
Okay, Memorial Day, yep. So anyway, but with that said, they discussed the name of the park again. And there is a procedure in place for people to submit names for that park. So we asked that be posted on the city site as far as the putting suggestions in, but that will go through the Park and Rec Committee and then ultimately approved by the city council. And just waiting on parts for the splash pad, and that's kind of the delay in wrapping that park up. That's it.
Great. Thank you, sir. Council President Hensley.
Yeah, this is the first, so everything is coming up in the next week, but I do want to remind folks, I did mention it at the last meeting, but I'm trying to open a attachment here. It won't open, so I'm just going to try my best to remember. The Prevention Coalition is having a parents' night at Baker Prairie Middle School. Good, she's nodding. I got the right school. Thursday, the 9th of this month, so next week. And they're doing 6:30 to 7 is in Spanish and 7 to 7:30 is in English, if I have the times right. Jennifer's looking. I couldn't get this attachment to open, but I wanted to make sure everybody was aware. There's going to be some speakers there. Officer Wallers is going to be going over vaping information for parents, not how to, but how to watch out for, and also some online security stuff to keep your kiddos safe. So it's very good information. I encourage everybody to go. That's Thursday night, April 9.
Great. Thank you. Councilor Patton.
Nothing I will say in my thing is an April Fool's joke, so just so you know. I did not come prepared for this, obviously. So it's been a very busy couple of weeks, so I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as possible. For you, Council President Hensley, and you, Randy, I did have a concerned citizen come up and say that they find it odd that there is no crosswalk at Maple across Territorial, because people are coming from those developments across Territorial to then get to Maple Street Park. And so it would seem to make sense that there was some sort of striped noticeable crosswalk there. So if you are listening tonight, person, I'm sorry I forgot your name, it duly noted.
I will take it to the Traffic Safety Commission. Spencer, didn't we talk about that intersection before? We will revisit that.
Okay, great. Some other things, the Charter Subcommittee group met with the folks at Canby Utility, and we had a really great discussion about some of the changes that we really want to make in conjunction with Canby Utility, because something that I've heard for many years is Canby Utility is sometimes hampered by what is in our city charter because it was set up decades ago. And so really partnering with them to get a better understanding of what we can do to amend the city charter to help make their lives easier, as well as take some of the burden off of us as a council. For the Willamette Falls Landing Heritage Area Coalition, and this is in the capacity of my work as the Projects and Programs Committee Chair, for years that group has been talking about, once they get into the historic Westland City Hall, what they're gonna do in the exhibit center or the visitor center downstairs. They've spent a bunch of money on various plans, and I actually convinced the group to get together in a work session, and we actually put some stuff on paper, and we're excited that we might actually make some headway for installations in that facility in the next 12 months. There are some installations there that talk about various historical sites and such within the city or within the area. I strongly encourage you to visit them and check those out, but good work being done over there. I also attended the City Council field trip with Councilor Davis and Council President Hensley, and we toured the Sherwood YMCA as well as the Chehalem Aquatic and Fitness Center. Really impressive facilities. I do not see how we could not, I do not see how we can't pull something like this off in the not too distant future. And especially, you know, our pool has done a tremendous job with what they've got. But I think if we could update our facility to something similar to what you see at the Chehalem Aquatic Center, we would get a whole lot more people in the city energized about going to our pool and all those things. So I really, like I said, I strongly believe that we can do something like this, whether it's with a partner or whether it is with the YMCA or somebody, or we do it internally, but I really think that's something that we need to put on the bubble to do sooner than later. I paid a visit to, so one of the things, and this is not to put you folks on the spot from the school district, but there's been all this talk about the Ackerman School, right, being vacant. I've never been over there. So I went ahead and walked around the school, and when I got around to the district offices, I'm like, you know, I should probably let them know that I'm not some creepy old dude walking around the school scoping things out. And in the end, I did run into the superintendent over there. We had a little chat, and they gave me a tour of the district offices. I didn't actually go in the building, obviously, but I got a chance to see it. And, you know, I think there's some real potential there with that, plus the property that the adult center is on and the current pool. So I appreciate that. Also attended the Clackamas City's dinner meeting with Council President Hensley. I had mentioned about Estacada's big construction big development project they're doing on the old mill site. Really energizing, really exciting to see them doing some good stuff over there, and I'm really happy for that. Also had a chance to interact with some of the electeds in the area, and it's always good to connect to folks and see what other cities are doing out there. Then let me look for password on Facebook. Oh, I did get a chance to go visit a new business in town. There is a speakeasy in Ebner's Meat. I don't know if you've been there yet.
Oh, yeah.
Be sure to, it's like Sip and Slice or something like that. Be sure to be friends on Facebook with them because that's the only way you get the password to get them to open up the door to go in. So I definitely encourage you to check out that new business. I then also attended the Vietnam Memorial along with Councilor Davis and Council President Hensley. It was a little damp, but it was really great to see so many people there to not only honor the veterans who have lost their lives in the Vietnam War, but also those that are still alive and served. And so thank you all very much for your service. And it was really great last year I tried to go, but I got there late and it's a very quick ceremony. And so I completely missed it. But I make sure that I was there on time to be able to do that. I also went to the Canby Pride installation here, titled We Have Always Been There. It's an event highlighting some of the many members of the trans community, both here locally and beyond, from Sarah McBride, who is a current congressperson, to an individual named Alan Hart, who graduated actually from the University of Oregon Medical School, and in the early 1900s made huge headways in tuberculosis research and tuberculosis testing. So I really appreciate that group putting that on. And now for the last thing, and this is something that I've been working on for many years now. I am a big proponent of trees here in Canby, and I was really upset and quite disappointed that the heritage oak several years ago was cut down over between Austin's Body Shop and what is now the Cabinet Store. And so what I did was I took it upon myself to go out there. I worked with the city, with the Public Works, as well as that landowner, and I collected several large pieces of wood that was left over of scrap, and took that to my friend Chuck, who is a woodworker. And that's been sitting over at his house for many years, and we finally said, Jason, he and I finally talked around Christmas time and said, it is time to do something with that. So my plan has always been to make some artifacts from the tree that would be able to be here at City Hall, as well as at the Canby Railroad Museum, to memorialize the actual existence of that tree. And needless to say, I spent some time with him the other day, and I only partially helped with this. He did most of the work, but this is kind of what we are working on. So this tree was turned by my friend Chuck, and this is actually made from the wood of the historic Canby oak. And the goal will be to build a plaque that these trees will sit on, with a little plate that talks about the history of the tree and some history about it being cut down and all those things. But there's actually, and I'll pass this around, make sure I get it back. I'm still working on it. But really cool. There's actually enough wood that we might be able to make some smaller trees and some smaller artifacts, some boxes and stuff. Like oak. And then the goal would be to partner with the friends at the Canby Library to then sell those things as a fundraiser for the library. So that is one of the things that I'm working on with all of that. And so with that, I am done with my report.
Thank you,
Very
sir.
good.
So it is 9:41. We said to end at 9:45, but Randy's got a lot of stuff to bounce off us. So, council?
Okay, let's do it.
Yep.
10 minutes.
4 minutes, go.
4 minutes.
All right. Thank you, council. Appreciate it. All right. City Administrator Business and Staff Report.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor, and our guests do not have to stick around for this. This is not exciting stuff, but Steve, I'm going to call Steve up. If you could just pass both of those
We're
down.
going to talk about fog. I mean,
Yeah,
of course it's
FOG stands for fats, oils, and grease. And we monitor this stuff because we have a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant.
That's yours.
Thank you.
And Steve, I'm allow you to introduce yourself really quick. We
need one more.
Okay,
couple
we
years
need
now.
one more.
A couple years now with the city from previously City of Wilsonville.
Yep, about a year and 8 months. Can't wait for 2 years, and then keep on going from there. I'm the environmental compliance coordinator for the city. I handle making sure that we stay compliant with our MPDS permit for the wastewater treatment plant, and for our stormwater permit, the WPCF permit.
Right. So just real quickly, last year as part of your annual fee process, and even before that, in March, you can go back and watch the council meeting, Steve was making a presentation about a new fee to roll out. that would help cover some of his time running this program. And here's a copy of all the businesses, there's 64 or so businesses that are impacted by said fee. Said fee is calculated by the annual cost of about $21,000 per year at an hourly rate. So if you just do the math amongst 63 businesses, it comes out to about $337. Earlier this month, start of the, or when did it go out, Steve?
It was around the first of
the first of the year?
Yeah. February.
1st of February. Notice went out to all these businesses saying, new fee and $337. And so it landed a little tough, and I wanted to do a mea culpa and say, Steve and I would like to, for your consideration, kind of maybe press pause on this one so we can take a look at maybe a different, more equitable fee structure, because he is out and everybody knows Steve, those businesses, they welcome him in, and everybody wants to do the right thing. It's just the cheesecake business is much different than a Kentucky Fried Chicken when it comes to fats, oils, and greases. So we'd like to put some more thought into how this is rolled out, but we recognize the fee that you did adopt and pass last year.
Yeah, I would, yeah, that's good. We'll put a pause, reconstruct. Because, yeah, obviously that's inequitable for what their capacities are to just split it even. It doesn't seem quite fair. So, yeah, I would support taking another look at it.
I guess for my part, so all these businesses have grease traps, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we said we were going to do some sort of fee, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I guess for me, yes, $337 is a lot, okay? And even if that was a thing, I would really like to see that maybe phased in over time. But at the same instance, now, like I've seen so many fees here in the city, we say we're going to do this thing, and then it takes 4 years to do the thing. So to me, I would like to at least see something implemented, even if it's something like $50 or $25 or something, to at least start the process of billing that fee and getting people used to it. And then because that would be a pretty low amount, and then as we start to develop what the process will look like, a phasing, would somebody pay more because they create more grease than others, then those adjustments can be made. But for me, I would still like to see at least some amount started to be billed now, and then make those adjustments as time goes on.
And just so you know, those invoices have already gone out to the customers. And so they've all been charged the bill for the $337.50.
Oh, they've already.
Hence where the flare-up came from.
And I did receive some very respectful but spirited conversations.
Well said.
Wow. And so most wanted to know why one is at the same rate as someone who's a very large business. And so one of the ideas I had was maybe a tiered system.
Sure.
I don't know how to handle it for this year, if there is something we can do with maybe.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But for next year, may want to consider a tiered system.
I like that idea. Can I have a question?
Yeah.
The other thing for me is that the folks that have grease traps have a business that comes and cleans those traps and inspects those traps, and they pay that service fee to them. So largely, I would think that these folks are deserved of the answer of, what are you doing for that fee? What does the city provide for that fee?
Right, and we do, I do all the inspections, and I take all those reports. So we belong to the Preferred Pumper Program. It's a regional program with about 14 other communities. And so the pumpers do the service according to an agreement. And so when I do the inspections, I make sure that they're cleaning them properly and following all of those standards. And so I try to go to about 50% per year to verify. Last year, I believe I was at about 32%. And this year so far, about 12% have been inspected. So there's inspections, there's taking the 300 emails I got last year just for fog, and those are ones that I received reports for. I also get a whole bunch of from the preferred pumpers where I don't have to do anything with that email because there was no new pump out report. So it is pretty time consuming for that. And I think when we're looking at the rates, it's about a fifth of the time. A lot is put into that program because it protects the plant, the wastewater plant, so much. And so.
Well, given the shock and confusion that came with that bill, I'm thinking that maybe it would be prudent for the city to have like a one-pager education to message this to those businesses so they understand what they're paying for.
Yep.
Councilor Waterman?
Yeah, that was kind of going to be my question. If we approved it last year, was there any communication to the businesses that this new fee was even coming out?
Whenever I was doing inspections, I was letting them know about the new fee. I was not able to reach out to everybody. We received phone calls and emails from about 10%. In the negative response part of the highly spirited. And in fairness to your question, there were about 10 more calls that were, is this a real fee? Because it was the first year.
Sounds like something that, I mean, a mailer shouldn't be going out to our businesses, at least, letting them know there's a new fee coming out, so.
Yeah.
And we can do that.
Thank you.
Sounds like the tiered is the way to go, and
consensus on that.
I think that's,
Thank you.
I will say that the folks that I did speak with wanted to kind of be a part of that conversation when we're coming up with those fees. Okay. Or with the tiered system or whatever it might be.
Will you, Randy, be able to give us an update in May, in one of the May meetings on what we do to, I guess, correct this year versus, and then going forward? Since we've already charged them, is that going to be?
Yeah, maybe if they fall in a tier, they get a credit next year or something.
I don't know if that's turning around for next year.
I don't even know.
I don't know.
How many have paid, so I got to do a little inventory.
Okay.
And I would also
More work for Denise.
There you go. And I would also be interested if, did you look at other cities, kind of how they're structuring their thing?
So most other cities will charge by their wastewater usage, and so it's more of a usage-based fee.
Yeah. But that's not how we do it. We charge flat fees.
This was a flat.
Okay. We're learning.
Yeah, we learn as we go.
Process. Okay.
Always learning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What else, Randy?
And I think that is pretty much it. I had a little mini charter update, but Councilor Padden covered that. Next week, you'll be down on the floor. I do have a handout of your look-ahead schedule, just so you can have it handy if you'd like. I know it's more paper, but it is informs you.
Oh, no, I like this.
This is a good one. This informs you of all the upcoming meetings we have. Thanks to Maya for her help in putting this together for me, or with me.
And I will just throw out for next week, that meeting, I have let Maya know that I will be phoning that one in because I'm doing a whirlwind trip through Eastern Oregon and essentially from Ontario, Oregon up to Bellingham and back, so.
Yeah, that's our joint meeting with the Canby Utility Board. We'll be on the floor. Split the cost 50-50 for a little light sandwich so that starts at 6 o'clock.
Next week?
Yeah.
Next week, the 8th.
Always miss the food, Jason.
I do have two things, Randy, to ask you about.
Yes, sir.
Where are we at in the process with the Public Works Director?
We are in background with our preferred candidate.
Okay. And then where are we at with Walnut?
Walnut, Spencer is here. We had good news, I think, knock on wood, from ODOT.
Ooh. Hi, Spencer.
Hello.
I knew I'd get you up here somehow.
I know, you were trying.
I really was. I was going to make something up.
Spencer is a Canby graduate, Canby High School graduate. You're the superintendent board chair here. Yeah. He's blushing.
Tuesday, we received notification from ODOT that they needed, I believe it was bonding insurance from Canby Excavating, and they needed an original copy of it. And once they have that, they will be issuing the permit. That was mailed Tuesday. So however long it takes to get there,
Like a month.
I'm hoping by Monday, we might be starting work.
Wow, Monday.
Monday, Wednesday,
April Fool's.
somewhere in there.
That better not be an April Fool.
Yeah, not April Fool's.
I don't know how many times you've asked me
Yeah.
what day we're starting yet.
I've been asking for 3 years, I think.
3 years.
I think so.
Yes, yeah.
Also,
I'm just glad that we're at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, next time, give me a call, I'll drive it down there. 'Cause I'm faster than Postal Service.
There we go.
exactly, good idea. Lastly, we got a bit of good news. Our final paving on 10th Street is slated, weather permitting,
Wednesday.
Okay.
Yay.
It was supposed to be today, but the weather had other ideas, so.
That'll be
check that
huge.
one off.
That'll be huge. Thanks, Spencer. Yes, sir.
Randy, the meeting with the school board?
Yes, I need to talk with Maya and find a slot and talk with their superintendent and board chair about what month we want to.
Soon.
Yeah, soon. So I think they heard you and I heard you. So, thanks,
Did you
Counselor.
have something?
The signal, is there any feedback back on how many more changes we need to make on that before that goes through?
Oh, for Walnut?
Haven't heard back on that.
Okay.
I think we're down to a list of 17 items. So, okay. Thank you, Randy. Second opportunity for citizen input. Once, twice sold, okay. Action review.
You have approved the consent agenda, adopted ordinance number 1665, approved ordinance numbers 1666, 1667, and 1668 to second readings on April 15th, 2026.
Fabulous, thank you, Maya. That concludes our meeting.
I move we adjourn.
I move to, somebody move to adjourn, you do?
I just did.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
We are adjourned. Canby, good night, thank you very much.